Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your number one source for the latest in WWE news and straightforward analysis. Are you ready to get this thing going?
Give me a hell yeah! I said give me a hell yeah!
Then let's get this show started right now.
All right, everybody, and welcome to the WWE Podcast. Welcome to WrestleMania week. It's the week that we all have been thinking about during the year, planning out fantasy booking, and it is here as we kick off WrestleMania week with a 2.5-hour show with Michael Gross. I'm not complaining about it. It's a great conversation. Fastest 2.5 hours I've ever had, and hopefully yours as you listen to Michael and myself talk about WWE right now, its current state, where we're going, what could happen, all of the usual fun things that we do. And it was just, again, a great conversation with Michael, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. But first, guys, I want to do a couple of things. Number one, I want to let you know that we are available on Patreon, patreon.com/WWE Pod, the WWE Podcast. You can also just search for us on the app. They have an app. And you can get all of our shows completely ad-free, and every show we've ever done ad-free with just $1 a month. And you can get in the door with that price. And I think it's a pretty good deal. And it'll cover you through WrestleMania season and beyond. So not bad. You can also give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or anywhere that podcasts can take reviews. And it does help us out in the rankings and algorithms and everything like that. So certainly take advantage of, or give us a little pat on the back and say, hey, thanks for doing a good job. And that's how you can do it there. I want to give you guys the WrestleMania schedule because this is a very big week. This is a huge week if you're a podcaster or a YouTuber who covers wrestling. But more importantly, for you, the listeners, we want to be able to cover everything from every angle and give multiple perspectives. So here's what's going to happen this week. I'm going to give you the schedule. So get your pens and pencils out. So obviously this is the week in review, but on Tuesday, I'll be doing the Monday Night Raw review live. Yeah, live on Tuesday night. Now, I normally don't do a Monday Night Raw review live, but I think this could give you guys a quick voice. I understand that we have the mailbag. The mailbag is still going to be happening on Wednesday. I may or may not be doing a new nostalgia show. I may bring it back from the vault and rehash one that I did maybe a year or so ago, so it doesn't feel so recent. But just so that I can give you guys the best quality audio, I don't want to just pick something just to pick something and not have a real thought behind it. So nostalgia may or may not be happening. And from an original perspective, I'm not sure yet. I'm not, I'm kind of see how I feel this week. It's going to be a very, very long week. So Tuesday is going to be live, though. Now, you may be asking, what do you mean live, right? How is this going to happen? Well, I'm going to be doing this on Blog Talk Radio. Now, many of you have maybe listened to Blog Talk Radio. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you don't know what it is. Basically, it's a live call-in format. And here's the number. This is not for our mailbag, by the way. This is only for the live format we're doing for live shows this week. So don't confuse this with our mailbag number. The mailbag number is staying the same. Okay, so that number is 516-387-1443. Again, 516-387-1443. Now, why that number is important is not just for Monday Night Raw, my Monday Night Raw review, but also because I will be doing a live show format next Saturday night and Sunday night. I'll talk about that in a minute. But again, 9 p.m. I didn't give you the time. 9 p.m. on Tuesday evening, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Tuesday, I'll be doing a Monday Night Raw review. 516-387-1443 is the number. Call in and give me your thoughts on Monday Night Raw. If we don't have any callers, that's cool. I'm just getting started on that format. It is not a free format, so I don't usually stick around too long. So if I don't have any guests or callers, I'll just be super embarrassed and I won't do it again. Of course, I'm joking. I don't really care because I want you guys to call in, but at the same time, I run shows solo all the time. And it's no problem. So It's just an opportunity for you guys to call in. So that is Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with that number to call in. Then Wednesday will be, again, nostalgia and your mailbag as normal. Thursday is going to be a much-needed breather for yours truly, but we have our great co-host of Zach Smith and Mimi covering AEW and NXT. Friday starts the insanity. Friday, I'll be doing a preview and prediction show with Mimi and maybe another co-host. We're working things out, but Friday will be a preview and prediction show. Saturday night, immediately following WrestleMania. I don't have an exact time set up yet, obviously, because we don't know when we're going to be going live, but I'll be bringing on the Botch Guy. YouTube's the Botch Guy. Go follow him on YouTube, for goodness sakes. Search the Botch Guy. Hilarious. Really up to date with all this stuff. Go follow the Botch Guy on YouTube and get yourself up to date. But he'll be joining me Saturday night and Sunday night for the WrestleMania reviews. 2 nights in a row, back to back. The Botch Guy will be right here in a live format. So that's why I said the number's important. I'll be going live on Blog Talk Radio with YouTube's The Botch Guy. 516-387-1443. That's the same number I gave you. So that's not changing, as the Botch Guy will be joining us here on the WWE podcast each night of WrestleMania right after the show. Again, we don't have an exact time, but usually within a half hour of the show ending, we go live. So, of course, keep up to date with our Twitter at wrestling_audio and on Instagram at WWE_podcast, or email us at realwwepodcast@gmail.com if you have comments, questions, suggestions, whatever. All right. Well, that is the WrestleMania schedule. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a fun one. My voice is probably going to be, non-existent by Sunday night, but we're going to have a blast. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, guys, it's time. Enough of this rambling and housekeeping stuff. Important housekeeping stuff. I don't want to dismiss it. Let's get into the content. Let's get into Michael Gross and myself discussing everything you can think of that is happening right now in WWE to WrestleMania and beyond right now. So everybody, thank you. Take care. I'll be back very soon. You'll be tired of hearing from me. And as always, I'll talk to you next time. All right, welcome to the WWE podcast. It is your week in review, and what a week this is going to be. It is officially WrestleMania week, guys. Whether you love it or whether you hate it, this is the week that we live for as wrestling fans, at least in theory. So I'm really pleased to be welcoming back the gardener, Michael Gross, to the show to discuss everything WrestleMania, Raw, SmackDown with me here, and kick off WrestleMania week right. How you doing, Michael?
I'm excellent. How about yourself, sir?
I'm tired, just like yourself, but we're good. we're running on adrenaline and whatever drink is in front of us, which me right now is water. And I am really excited to be talking about WrestleMania with you. While the card, you and I agree, isn't exactly the strongest, and we'll discuss that. I am excited to at least discuss the details of how we're getting to WrestleMania and the storylines individually. So I'm good, but let's talk about a couple things before we get there, and that is the passing of Blade Braxton. So let me toss that to you. What are your thoughts about this? When did you learn about it? What's going on?
Well, I found out about Blade Braxton passing earlier this week. Actually, you and I text each other back and forth about it. And if a lot of listeners are not familiar with Mr. Braxton, he was part of the WrestleCrap website, which is something I fell in love with many, many years ago. I've bought a couple of their books between he and R.D. Reynolds, who runs WrestleCrap. They did the book of lists. They did the actual WrestleCrap book. It was great. It was the best of the worst, and it was so hilarious. It went beyond just your typical negativity. It was actually incredibly funny, and I don't know all the circumstances surrounding his death, but I know that the pro wrestling world lost one heck of an analyst who was brilliant. He was funny, and he gave it his all. I never listened to his show. I know that he had his own kind of podcast thing. And I know that he and R.D. Reynolds worked on a lot of things, but as a person who loves wrestling as you, I think it is sad. And I wish his family the best. I wish everybody who knew him the best in a recovery time. But we all lost somebody who was great, who was really funny and very entertaining. And it's to me just tremendously hurting wrestling as we know it right now.
It does, and yes, this wasn't somebody that was a performer, a wrestler, but he's part of the wrestling community. We're all a part of this family of wrestling analysts or reporters, whatever you want to categorize us as. And yeah, we compete with one another, but we're all generally in that same boat of trying to make a living, trying to just give our opinions. We love wrestling. That's what we all share. And I'm with you. The wrestlingcrap.com that he started was, it was a big deal. I mean, I believe he was even at StarCast at one point.
Yes.
Yeah. So a big deal, sad. I really do want to wish the family and friends, my condolences, and certainly. So, but switching gears to something else, I also, per your knowledge, have gotten insight into the IWGP title. We got the Intercontinental and World title that have united, and what does that look like?
It looks like a heart. It is the ugliest belt I've seen in a long time. It looks like the old Divas Championship, and a lot of people have been blowing up Twitter with it. And it's Kota Ibushi's first reign, and this is a guy that is synonymous with IWGP Wrestling. It's a lot of funny. Hold on, let me try this again. It is really funny to me that a lot of people in America know him as a guy from the Cruiserweight Classic. They don't realize that he's beyond that. He's incredibly talented. The guy is shredded, ripped, and he's getting his first championship. He's unifying 2 titles, and they give him one of the ugliest titles I've ever seen in my life. I've seen some ugly titles before, but dear Lord, this thing, it doesn't take the cake, but it is pretty bad. It is really high up there on the what were you thinking scale. So if you folks haven't had a chance to take a look at this belt, New Japan has really outdone itself with, oh my dear Lord, why did you do this belt?
So what should if those are listening that are like, wait, what do I Google search? What would you tell them to Google search to see this championship?
Just Google search IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It's the brand new championship, and it should come up with a picture of Kota Ibushi. And you're just going to look at it and say, what were they thinking? Like, why?
Oh,
why?
See it. Yeah.
Why? Yes, isn't it?
Oh my God, guys, please
it's
see
half
this.
A belt. It's half of a belt. It's funny because I like the AEW Championship, just a ginormous belt with huge side plates, and there's no continuity to the belt. It's hard to look at. You almost look at it like, did half the belt break? Like, yeah. You're on your way out the door, half it broke, but hey, we'll just show you this half. That's what it kind of looks like to me. So it is pretty ugly. So I just want to also mourn the loss of the old IWGP Championship.
You need a moment of silence, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, this is the first time while I'm talking to you that I'm seeing this, because I wanted to Google it as everyone else can while they're at their computers or wherever they may be able to see this. Holy, this is bad.
Yeah.
This is bad. Yes. It does look like the old Divas Championship. It was inspired by the Divas Championship that was so beloved. So, I mean, they're just missing butterflies. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It really does look like if a heart and a butterfly had a child, yeah, and it was made out of metal, that belt is that love child.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Yeah, this is a pretty rough one. No doubt about it. I mean, when you look at the old one and the new one next to one another, I mean, it's an abomination. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I know a lot of times championships, the look of them I'm not really necessarily a belt guy, because to me what it means and represents is worth more than what it looks like. But sometimes the look of it can overshadow what it actually is viewed as value-wise. And this is tough. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, well, I want to move on to WrestleMania, because that's what we're here to talk about. And, of course, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. And before we get into those details, I want to ask you, while I know that you aren't super high on this year's WrestleMania, as many fans are, I think, in your boat, are you at least excited for real human beings to be in attendance to voice their opinions to WWE?
You know, this is a mixed bag to me, and I'm going to tell you why. We are going to have so many piped-in reactions and piped-in sound. I don't know if it's going to drown out the people or not, and I think it's going to be very interesting to hear all these cheers when the people behind you can not necessarily hear them booing but see their reactions. I'm curious to see how this is going to be pulled off, because WWE now no longer has their way with making you cheer or making you boo who they want. You're going to have human beings there. It makes me wonder, are they going to have signs? Even let's look at the most basic T-shirts. Okay, are they going to wear AEW T-shirts? Are they going to make you wear WrestleMania T-shirts? Are they going to make you turn your T-shirt inside out if it says something they don't like? I'm really curious. Besides what the restrictions are, how the people are going to react. Are they going to cheer? Are they going to make any sound at all? You know, they used to say that what would kill a wrestler's career is if the people sat on their hands, so to speak. They don't cheer, they don't clap, they don't boo, they don't do anything. It's like they could care less. How are the people going to react? How are the spectators going to react? It's not necessarily knowing if you're going to react as much as, are they going to care to react? Are they used to having the reaction spoon-fed to them? So are people even going to mug for the camera? This is going to be very interesting. The first couple rows of people and the way they act, are they just going to be goofy just to see themselves on TV? So it's almost worth me watching WrestleMania just to see how people are going to act more than what the reaction is going to be, if that makes any sense.
It's really, that's a good point. And I think that if you're down on the WrestleMania card, I know a lot of people are, and some of the storylines are just ridiculous and how they're happening. Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman, it's childlike how this storyline came together, and we'll get to that. But outside of that, even if you're down on the card, the return of the biggest superstar of all time, which is the fans. How do they, like you said, how do they react? Listening to the fans throughout the entire show is going to be, if you're bored with whatever's going on or you don't like the outcome, that's going to be the most interesting to me. If you don't like the actual match that's happening, you can listen to the crowd. But as you said, does WWE not want to let go of that playing God type of control that they've had over the last year of being able to push a button and get the reaction that they want? Are they going to let go of that if the fans start yelling or booing who they want to cheer and cheering who they want to boo? I would hope that WWE does not put any artificial reaction into that pay-per-view. I think that's disrespect to the fans. I know what fake crowd noise sounds like. We've heard it for the last year. So if they try that crap, it'll be very easily recognizable. I've heard it. We all know what fake boos and cheers sound like. It's not quite authentic. It doesn't have that same sound as real live in-person people. So I'm going to be listening for that little kind of, oh, well, I hear boos, but are they trying to drown it out with their cheers? I mean, I have a keen ear for that, and I think a lot of fans that you do, and probably the fans that listen to this show have that keen sense of, oh, wait a minute, something's not right here.
Well, if you overrule the live crowd with your own piped in noise, what is that going to do, and what kind of a template does that set going forward for more live crowds? Are people going to get fed up with it? What kind of attendance will you draw after that once you can start drawing attendance? If they're just going to feed you the reaction continually as if you're not there, do you really want to be there in person? So this is going to set a lot of precedents all the way around.
It's not sold out either. And I know the ticket prices are through the roof. And this isn't secondhand prices. This is like through Ticketmaster. The prices are insane. So I would hope that the people going to this, you would think that they're not just going to go there to just sit on their hands. You would think these are the most passionate of passionate fans that maybe have been vaccinated. They just want to get out. They want to voice their opinion after being silent to WWE for a year. And that WWE just says, you know what, guys, have at it. Tell us what you really think is going on. And, we'll let it come through. And I hope that's the case. I hope that the energy is through the roof. Yes, it's only a third capacity of the building, so the noise won't be as loud as it could be, which it does hurt a little. But at the same time, 25,000 people can make a lot of noise. There's no question. And I'd hope the people spending this amount of money to go to WrestleMania, which, by the way, each ticket you buy is for a separate night. It's not for both nights. And the rates are through the roof. You got to get airfare most likely. You have to get hotels. Like, people are going to be spending thousands of dollars, even not for ringside seats, just for, the run of the mill if you want both nights, mid-level seats. So I would think you're not going to go there to just sit on your hands. So I'm hopeful. Though, anybody listening, if you're going, please voice your opinion to WWE. So, all right. I want to get into, of course, something else that's going on. And probably the biggest news of the week is the dissolution of the Hurt Business. And I'll stop there and go ahead.
It's like you read my mind, because that's what really honestly, this is really where I wanted to start. First of all, you and I always talk about organic situations and what comes natural and momentum, and that the dreaded word we always talk about, momentum. I know. And the thing is, the Hurt Business is the most organic thing that they've created over the past year. It is a heel faction that did and made good on every promise they had. And they were over. They had heel heat. They had heel momentum. And if people wonder what I'm saying, heel momentum is like a team like the old Midnight Express. I know I'm going old school on people, but it's a team that not only got booed, but they won a lot, and they won a lot against top tier teams. And that's something for you to believe in, whether it be by interference from a manager, or whether it be by just sheer dominance, or in their case, just out wrestling or luck of the draw. But the point is that they won. So it wasn't always, okay, they're going against top baby faces, they're going to lose. It wasn't as always predictable. You had a dog in the fight. At any time the Hurt Business was in there, you had a dog in the fight. And so watching them and watching MVP really, really at the top of his game in a managerial role, even as when he was transitioning from the player-coach situation, for them to always do what they were doing, it was great. And to dissolve something that it was selling T-shirts, it was doing everything that you wanted to do with heels, and you didn't spoon feed it to us. You didn't force it down our throats. You didn't tell us to boo it. We caught on. The one thing I will say about the Hurt Business that they did wrong is that a heel is not supposed to have fans, but in this day and age, everybody has a fan, no matter who you are. And I was a fan. Everybody, I don't know people who weren't a fan of the Hurt Business. You had something great going. Why dissolve something great? It makes no sense to me. It is a top story because, honestly, this was one of the hottest things. One of the reasons that I wanted to turn on Raw was to see what they were doing, to see Shelton and Cedric get the tag titles back, because they never should have lost them to begin with. And I don't even know what's going on with that with WrestleMania because of my work schedule and being so busy. I just know that I saw something. I saw the biggest travesty in wrestling over the past week, and that was the disillusion and of the Hurt Business. That's really what it was.
It pissed off a lot of fans, and myself included. I mean, this was just it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's one of the worst decisions I've seen WWE make in a couple of years, I think, to dissolve the Hurt Business so soon. And I went back and I wanted to see exactly how long they've been together, and they actually came together on May 11th of 2020, and they were dissolved on March 29th. So they got a 10-month run roughly of the Hurt Business. And, I don't know what it is with WWE and their inability to sustain factions for more than really a few months. And in this case, 10 months is a long time with what they've done in the past with Andrade and Austin Aries and Zelina Vega, that group that was together, that they could never get off the ground. That was dissolved. You have Seth Rollins have his group that, AOP got injured and then they went
Same
south.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah, they're gone. That group didn't stick together. And then you have Buddy Murphy trying to get back with Seth Rollins. It's bizarre. Now he's kind of in and out. Then you had King Corbin kind of have his subjects. Then they left. WWE cannot keep a faction, whether it's by design or whether it's just by bad luck or injury. This was clearly not either of those. This was a creative decision to break them up. And it was, to me, a bad decision. Now, the only thing, and as I'm trying to spin this in a positive light, which is not easy to do because I want to be very clear, I completely disagree with this decision as it stands right now. And I hope I'm proved wrong in a couple of months where I'm like, oh, okay, I see why they broke them up. But I have no faith in WWE because they have not given me a reason to ever think that way. But the only thing I'm thinking is what their mind is and their creative reasoning is, let's break them up because right now the focus is on Bobby Lashley as champion. And we want him to, again, in their minds, retain at WrestleMania and then possibly go on to be a huge babyface champion with maybe a double turn with Drew and Lashley at WrestleMania. Now, again, a lot of ifs there. I understand.
Lots of ifs.
Tons. I understand that. But what my thought is, when you're a babyface, you don't need a stable behind you. You know, usually you're on your own fighting the world. Typically, I understand that there's exceptions, but typically when you're a big babyface champion and you've proven yourself, you are a legitimate badass, you don't need backup. So perhaps they're laying the groundwork for Bobby Lashley to go off on his own and just be that monster with MVP as his mouthpiece. Is that possible, or was this just nowhere near there?
It's possible, just not probable. The fact is, MVP is a great mouthpiece, and Bobby Lashley needs him, because you could tell by his promo on Raw, Bobby Lashley is not a speaker. He's not a great orator. He's not even a good orator. He is a downright terrible orator. Now, would I say that to his face? No. Would I say that to his face behind 5-inch glass? No. Yeah. Okay? Because he'll come through there and he's going to hurt me. Yeah. But I don't want to see a double turn. I want to see Bobby Lashley the way he is, because the best way I could put it is, like, you look at somebody like Apollo Crews also, like, let's flip the coin. They smile too much. There's something kind of generic as a babyface, but you can buy him as a heel. And while I like the fact that Bobby Lashley is the centerpiece and the focal point, you can still do that with a group. You look at DX, they had a long run. And while the Incarnation, you know, starting off as Shawn Michaels and Triple H, but you also had a world champion in there. And they didn't break him up. It was only injuries that broke him up until later down the road. And then they boiled down to a upper mid-card tier act until Triple H eventually broke free, but then you had Evolution later on, which they stuck together, and everybody held that title at one point or another. So you can do this. You don't have to break them up right away, and you can still have Lashley as the focal point. I mean, look back at the old Four Horsemen. Ric Flair was the focal point, but you still had the supporting cast. And this was a very close. To me, the Hurt Business could have built up to the next version of Evolution. I don't think anybody will ever be the next version of the Four Horsemen, but you have to have different versions of different generations worth or being in the same vein of something, okay? And I feel that the Hurt Business could have been that. In fact, I wanted to see the Hurt Business gather one more stable member. I would love to have seen, whether it be a female or a male, one more person in there and let it ride out another year. You can do other things with it. You know, of course, the trick is, what do you do with Lashley as the champion? But we can talk about that more and more once you get past the obstacle of WrestleMania. But the fact is, you could have kept them together, and there's not going to be a double turn. If you do, absolutely WrestleMania will be oxymoronic at that point. There's just no chance of a double turn. And if they do, I see people canceling Peacock at that point, because it's just way too confusing. Everything is way confusing going into this Mania, but that would just be the icing on a really bad cake. So,
yeah, I hear you. And Peacock in and of itself is a mess, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe we're just so used to the WWE Network format, but I got to say, Peacock, it seems to have most things. It doesn't have everything, and I guess the rumor is that they are going to take out certain storylines and video footage that they deem is inappropriate now. I mean, that's the thinking, to kind of go along with, you know, all the other political things going on. Take that for what you will, but I'm not following the logic. To me, the upside of dissolving the Hurt Business does not nearly outweigh the downside of dissolving the Hurt Business. And I think I probably answered my own argument about the possible double turn at WrestleMania, because Bobby Lashley was firmly placed as a heel the last couple of weeks, putting a bounty on Drew McIntyre's head, which is completely unlike Bobby Lashley. I mean, he was on his own. He didn't need help. He was in his most intense we've ever seen him. He was literally dominating. It wasn't cheating to win. And then he suddenly needs help. He needs to put a bounty on people's heads. So that, to me, that signifies that you are establishing this person as a heel. And you inexplicably, by the way, this past week have Baron Corbin from SmackDown, which was never explained, coming to Monday Night Raw. This wasn't the quarterly invitational. This wasn't the wild card rule. This was just, well, it's WrestleMania season. No one cares. And we don't have another heel to work with. I mean, that's the only reason. That is the reason why, which WWE can never stick with their own rules with a brand split. That's another rant for another day. But this was just a bad call. I don't see the big upside on this. So.
No, you're absolutely right. And like I said, I wish they would have added another person to the Hurt Business and just kept it going. I really think that I don't want to say, lightning in a bottle, but they had something, and it was organic. And like I said, they came together. MVP made good on every promise that he gave you. You believed in it. I believed in it. And especially with Bobby Lashley having, the real background in Bellator, and I've watched his fight. I mean, the guy is an animal. You have credibility all the way around. Have got a top-tier heel. You don't have a flash in the pan. This isn't like let's throw Sheamus out there and hopefully it sticks kind of thing. You have something that works. So I don't want to use the term had, because I really don't want to see him lose the championship and get caught in some mid-card feud with Drew Gulak or something like that. And nothing against Drew, because I think he's a great performer, but he's not to that caliber. I don't want to see somebody who had a world championship 3 weeks later going into the next pay-per-view going against somebody who doesn't matter over inconsequential things. I really want to see Bobby Lashley on his top game. So, breaking up something this beautiful it was a disgrace. Like you said, we've seen worse decisions in our lifetime with wrestling, but this is probably the worst one of 2021 easily so far.
Oh yeah. And I know we're only 4 months in, but I think this one will stand for a while. I mean, I was angry about the Iconics, which still doesn't make sense to me of their breakup. But I mean, looking quite ahead to WrestleMania, as I want to kind of put a bow on this topic, because this is a topic you could dive into for forever. But I do want to ask you, as we look towards WrestleMania, yes, we still have one or more Monday Night Raw in which things can be shaken up or directed one way or the other. But who do you think goes over in this? That's my first question to you. Who do you think goes over as champion? And also, how are the fans going to react to this? Because I think the fans are going to have a tough time cheering one guy louder than the other. I think there's going to be a lot of dueling chants with this. And the reason I think that is, yes, they're establishing Bobby as a heel, but I think fans are excited for Bobby. They want to see what he can really do and not just have a 1 or 2 month run, but rather a 6 to 12 month run, see what he can really do with MVP. We've seen Drew as champion. Yes, Drew didn't get that moment in front of fans, and I do feel for him on a human level, and I understand that. And the fans also got robbed last year, as everybody did, of having that moment with Drew. But Drew was champion for the better part of a year, so it's kind of like fans are like, well, we've been there, done that. Yeah, he's playing the face, but we do want to see what Bobby can do. How do you think the fans are also going to react? So kind of a two-part question.
Oh, this whole thing's a mess, okay? Because there is no loser in this situation. There is no bad guy. Yeah. I mean, there's a heel, but there's no bad guy. There's no situation where you don't want to cheer for somebody. You gotta like Drew because he's come into his own. His only problem right now is he's starting to get into that sickly, syrupy, sweet kind of situation where he's getting too babyface. He's getting too. I'll walk your dog and help your mother across the street almost. It's they're starting to push that side of him. I don't want to see that. Okay, I liked it when he first won the championship, when he was staring down Brock Lesnar. That kind of I wanted that, Drew. I don't want to see him always in a kilt. You're not Roddy Piper. It doesn't we don't. I kind of miss the spiky jacket, even though you look like a giant version of Aleister Black. That's the Drew that we like. That was the guy that came back that they envisioned as a champion. So, I want to see the Scottish psychopath again, not the sexy Scotsman. While it's kind of funny once in a while, I don't need to see this character evolve too much in 1 year. It hurts him. Okay. With that being said, though, he's still great. And where he was over this past year, I do not see him winning this championship. One, it's Bobby's time. Two, for him to hold the title 3 times in a year's time, not the same calendar year, but 3 times in a year, especially that whole mess with Randy Orton that we both agree made no sense, that whole hot potato thing, it makes him look like a champion who just can't hold, he's a drinker who can't hold his whiskey. It doesn't make sense, and we don't need that. For him, if he doesn't win this, he needs to bulldoze over a couple people, maybe go to SmackDown and work that returning program with Roman Reigns. That's where the money's going to be for Drew McIntyre going down the road. Okay, it's going to be he and Reigns, which that's your spoiler for our prediction for that one going down the road too. But so Lashley, I really feel is going to retain. Of course, it could be in the most crooked of crooked manners. It could be from
Brock
Lesnar? Any kind.
Would you say Brock? Yeah.
That is where I was going to go with this, okay? So who is Brock Lesnar's best friend?
Paul Heyman.
You're close. That's his second best friend. The guy he shared a room with all through
Shelton.
Ohio Valley. Exactly. And who seems to be the person who's standing up to Bobby Lashley the most?
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I don't think anyone's calling that. Yeah.
It could write itself. Now, I've thought about this as I was rewatching Raw today because I wanted to digest a little bit more. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting? Now, of course, without Paul Heyman, you can't really have Brock Lesnar because we all know he can't speak for himself and he gets way too frustrated. He needs he needs Paul Heyman in real life too to help control him and control his mood swings and the way he deals with management. So all the way around, I really hope Brock Lesnar comes back and we finally get that Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar match, which give me 6 months worth of it because there's ways to spin it and we can have so much fun with that.
It has to happen. It's been teased on Twitter. I think that's my early thought too, is that Drew loses here. I mean, if Drew wins, like you said, I won't hate it. I'll just kind of go, cool. Okay. He's champion again. I won't be excited. I won't hate it. I'm just going to go, okay. Like and I don't want to feel that way. I think I'd be more excited if Bobby retained and it's because of Brock Lesnar F5ing Drew McIntyre and leaving him in the middle of the ring. And if Bobby wins that way, he wins that way. I understand that people want to see him go over clean, and I think he's capable from a character perspective of going over clean. But I think that if you're going to make a Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar program, that has to happen. Yes, he's going to help Bobby retain, but it's in revenge for what Drew did to him last year. And you could do a triple threat with these three. I mean, that is, a triple threat would be SummerSlam or next year's WrestleMania. But
it would have to be, yes. Yeah, but that's a whole lot of big boys in the ring. Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a Haas match. That's a Haas match and a half right there.
Oh my God! Like legitimate badass guys, not people playing wrestlers. Guys that I would not want to be in a dark alley with. I mean, they aren't just playing anything. They are real. So yeah.
Absolutely. 100% agree. But that is what I thought of. And I couldn't wait to talk to you about that because with Shelton Benjamin being Lesnar's best friend in real life, and a lot of people don't know this, but Shelton Benjamin getting signed was a key because Brock Lesnar, basically when he was brought into Ohio Valley Wrestling many, many years ago, he said, as long as you bring in this guy, Shelton Benjamin, and you keep us together in some form, then I'll sign with you. A lot of people don't know that. So this could be the conduit, but also it's also wishful thinking. Let's be also honest here, okay?
I think it's wishful thinking, but I don't think it's completely impossible. I mean, if Vince writes enough zeros on the check, I think Brock could be swayed to leave his home that he's sheltered in Montana with, to come out of the woodwork and come back for a massive payday or two. That's right up Brock's alley. So I think it's possible. I just don't think it's probable. So I wouldn't be shocked, but I also wouldn't be, really disappointed if it doesn't happen because I don't think that it will. Smart money says probably not, but I think there's maybe like a 1 in 5 chance of that coming out. So.
Well, it all comes down to the Raw after WrestleMania. If they have, another one of these Raws where you're hovering at $2 million or less, that check is going to come out pretty fast. Yeah. That's supposed to be it's supposed to be the biggest Raw of the year, and at least they'll get their wish. There'll be no beach balls, but if it's still really pathetic and it's supposed to be the biggest Raw of the year, then that check's going to be written pretty fast.
It'll be and that's what stinks. Yes, we have fans back at WrestleMania, and that's great. 25,000 fans a night if it gets sold out, which it hasn't yet, which tells you people are, I think, a little hesitant from COVID, and they're also like, I'm not spending that much money to go here. And the card's not as strong as it should be to spend that money. I think a lot of factors there. But sadly, the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, it's going to be from the award-winning and critically acclaimed Thunderdome, but that's it, and that stinks. I really love the atmosphere of the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. It is pay-per-view worthy, and it's really a rough ride that we're not going to be able to see and hear those fans. But all right, well, I do want to move on, and this is completely shifting gears to SmackDown. Now, I'll jump back and forth, but this is the next thing I had on my list. SmackDown next week is having something called WrestleMania SmackDown, where they're going to be basically giving you the pre-show of WrestleMania, the matches they didn't really want to put on the pay-per-view, that they don't feel deserve the pay-per-view, that they're just going to stick on SmackDown next week. One of them is a Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown Tag Team titles and the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Again, I don't know how many thoughts you have on this SmackDown, WrestleMania SmackDown, but I didn't know if you caught that.
No, I saw that, and first of all, the tag titles should be defended on WrestleMania. All titles should be defended on WrestleMania. That's the point of having a title. It's supposed to be prestigious, so it takes away from it if you're defending it the day before or the last go-home show. It's demeaning to... It's demeaning to anybody who's worked very hard to get these titles and try to add prestige to it, especially when titles are meaning less and less these days. But we're going to have great matches like, Bad Bunny and The Miz. And the other part is, I really can't wait to tune in to see that Andre the Giant, Memorial Battle Royal. I just can't wait to see what inconsequential wrestler is going to win it this year and how their career is going to flounder in mediocrity. Why don't we just call it the Mediocrity Battle Royal? Now, enough of downing it. Unless something really, really amazing happens, it's just going to be another SmackDown. It's just going to have a Battle Royal. I've seen a Battle Royal a million times. So I don't see it as must-see TV unless something amazing happens with those tag titles and somehow another match gets added to WrestleMania, which probably will not happen. I'm not excited for that SmackDown. It's just another show. It's a grasp at straws just to make the people at Fox happy going into WrestleMania when you've got what looks like, we both agree, a pretty weak WrestleMania coming up. And if you can't get very or higher ratings, it doesn't have to be very high, just anything above, try to fill up the bucket. The goal is to fill up the bucket. You can't have it overfill at this point. If you can't get at least normal ratings for what they paid $1 billion for you to be on their network for, going into your biggest show of the year, I'd be afraid I was going to get canceled. So this is grasping at straws to me. That's what all this SmackDown's going to be. How about you?
Yeah, this is nothing more. Like I said, it's a glorified pre-show, but under the SmackDown label. It's what they wanted to, they gave us a bone and said, hey, this is WrestleMania SmackDown. That's not a thing. It's either SmackDown or it's WrestleMania. Like, you can't tell us one when it's really the other. They're trying, and I understand what they're doing. They could have just said pre-WrestleMania SmackDown. That's true, but there's no such thing as WrestleMania SmackDown. So combining the words doesn't make it true, although they're trying to make it true. It's just SmackDown. Like, I'm not going to go with WrestleMania SmackDown. It is just SmackDown. They're giving us the matches that they would have put on the pre-show, and it's even, to me, this is even worse than putting it on the pre-show because they're telling us it's not worth the pre-show of WrestleMania. It's even worse.
It's a burial. It's a burial of anybody who's worked this hard. That they're getting pushed. They're getting pushed off of the biggest show of the year. So this Logan Paul, whoever the heck he is, and Bad Bunny can be on it, who will never see a wrestling ring in their lives again.
And I was going to get to that, and I'll actually get to Logan Paul in just a second. But I will say, that we don't know for sure that these individuals aren't going to be on WrestleMania. Although the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, once you do that, that's over. You can't do it again. But perhaps there's another SmackDown Tag Team title match at WrestleMania. Something wacky happens on SmackDown, some kind of shady business, and Adam Pearce says, no, at WrestleMania you'll be competing in a fatal 4-way ladder match. I mean, maybe something like that happens. So we can't completely write off the SmackDown tag team titles as not being on WrestleMania because we don't have the final card. But this would tell me, if it has the WrestleMania label, that they're trying to say, yeah, we're just getting this out of the way. It's not deserving of the pay-per-view at all. Like, most likely we're probably right. So, but Logan Paul, I want to ask you about that. I mean, you have no idea who he is. I actually did. I'm not a big fan of his as far as like, I don't watch his stuff on YouTube. I knew he was on, if those of you that remember the Vine app, it was like that 6-second looping video app from several years ago that was huge before TikTok. He got really big on Vine. And then he had some bad publicity a number of years ago for going into it was a forest or a park in Japan where people would notoriously take their own lives. And he was making fun of it and cracked a couple of jokes and people lost their minds. And he apologized, but of course things were not good for him for a year or two, and he came out of that. He came out of it at least enough for WWE to say, yeah, things are probably good now. And he's got 20 some million subscribers on YouTube. So I know who the dude is. I don't follow his stuff religiously at all, but I'd rather deal with him than Bad Bunny, because at least this guy has a boxing, somewhat of a boxing career. He actually is really athletic. He could take a bump or two, and he doesn't make me want to, punch my TV screen like Bad Bunny does when he comes on. So there is at least that. But at the end of the day, Michael, I know that WWE will never make their celebrities look bad at a show. They will not take a bump. If they do, they'll end up winning a match anyway. So am I wrong on that? Do you think there's any chance of Logan Paul or Bad Bunny losing their matches?
Only if they wrestle each other.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes, and it's so sad. You're absolutely right. It's demeaning to somebody like anybody in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal who their whole life wanted to be a professional wrestler, went to school, taken the beatings, broken their bones, taken their bruises, went to the hospital for everything that they believed in because they had one true vision, one true dream. And then you have these people who got famous doing other things that really don't have any business being there whatsoever. The day for pageantry and celebrities has come and gone. It came and went after the third WrestleMania. They should have stopped it there. They should have put a bullet in it. But instead, they still have this vision that, you could put Alan Thicke in there and people are going to care. No, they're not. And for me, somebody who eats, sleeps, and breathes wrestling as much as you do, and as long as I've been watching it, it continues to get worse every year. Now that we don't even have – I don't want celebrities, let alone we're getting B-team celebrities. I don't care who Bad Bunny is and how many records he sells, okay? One of my favorite bands is Faith No More. Mike Patton has the best vocal range of all time. I bet a lot of people don't know that, and yet if he was at WrestleMania, I would not be happy about it because he has no business in a wrestling ring. Yeah. And I don't care if they brought Ken Shamrock back. Yes, he wrestled there at one point and he did this, he did that, and he was UFC. But at this point, he's not part of the product, and he's well into his 50s, and it would have no bearing on the long term. So just to put these people over, people aren't gonna. This isn't. Let me try this again because I'm gonna get ahead of myself and start stuttering like I always do. But this isn't in the 80s when they said, oh my gosh, Muhammad Ali or Liberace's there, and people talk about what were they on? Oh, WrestleMania, let's watch a replay. Those days have come and gone. People now are going to say, oh, we can watch a clip on YouTube, it's free. And that's if they really want to. And how much of a fan are you of that particular celebrity that you're really going to watch this if you're not a fan of wrestling? You are not. So it's doing nothing but just driving the hardcore fan away instead of attracting the casual fan.
I think, and I'm trying to come up with a time in which a celebrity coming in for WrestleMania actually worked in any kind of way. I can only come up with a couple. Number one, Tyson. Tyson
yes.
was probably the best of all time in terms of getting eyeballs on the product, that crossover from the boxing world, which was actually still pretty alive back in the late 90s because Tyson was Mike effing Tyson, coming to WrestleMania, which was, the Attitude Era, Vince going for broke on bringing in Tyson. That's when Eric Bischoff on his podcast has said, when he heard that Vince brought in Tyson, he knew that everything was, that was it. Like he knew in that moment that when WWE brought in Tyson, he goes, we're done. And he knew that at the time. But I I would think that's one. That is probably the biggest and most well-known actual celebrity that was brought in, and it worked. The other one, I mean, Drew Carey coming in, Pete Rose coming in, but that's Royal Rumble. I'm trying to think of anything at WrestleMania. I don't know if I can. Mickey Rourke punching out Jericho, bad. Snooki in a ring, bad. Floyd Money Mayweather, it worked to a degree. I think they miscast him as a babyface. I mean, you hear the crowd, they were cheering for Big Show. That was, I think it over-delivered, but it still made the celebrity look like $1 million, and I can't stand when they do that. I don't know any other example other than Tyson. Can you?
WrestleMania 1, Mr. T.
Mr. T, yes.
Mr. T, because I mean, obviously the A-Team was hot. It was a crossover to mainstream audiences. It was the beginning of the global domination. It made sense. Mike Tyson, because the biggest thing about Mike Tyson, it wasn't the fact that he was the baddest man on the planet. He'd already lost a few fights. Of course, he'd whip anybody. It's the fact that he could do anything he wanted, and he's legitimately not all there.
Yeah,
so you didn't know if he was going to bite someone's ear off. You didn't know if he was going to break character and go after Steve Austin and lay him out. Yeah. Then again, boxing's one thing. You don't know if Steve Austin's going to pull your legs out from underneath you. So it's one of those things where there was an actual feeling of unpredictability. Oh my gosh, he'll do anything he wants. He's told to do this, but will he do it? That's why it sold so well, and he can back it up. And especially without gloves on, if he hits you, he's breaking you open. So, there were so many factors with Tyson, so many factors with Mr. T, because it was the first couple WrestleManias, and Mr. T. It's funny because when you look back at some of that stuff, he was smaller than Piper. He was actually the smallest guy in those rings. Not to say he was a tiny guy by any stretch, but he was, because it was pre-steroid testing and such. It was a different time. Let's put it that way. And so he was like smaller than a lot of them, but it made sense with the crossover. And of course they had Hulk Hogan on the A-Team episodes and things like that. So that made sense. But Mayweather did nothing for me. That was just when I knew when to take my bathroom break. Akibono did nothing for me. That was just the terminology I want to use for the sake of our listeners and to keep this safe for work. I will not use, but it was just terrible. So Bad Bunny's not going to do anything, and this Logan Paul, he's not going to do anything for it either.
And I understand from a business perspective, I get what they're doing. I understand the train of thought of bringing in other celebrities or other mainstream YouTubers, which is really how most people, at least in the social media world, gain their fame. And especially with the younger audience, there's a lot of people now that grow up and they're like, I want to be a YouTube star. I mean, instead of like, hey, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a firefighter, I want to be whatever. People like Gen Z is like, hey, I want to be a YouTube star. Like, I want to be YouTube famous. That is, that's today's world. At the same time, you can make a lot of money if you are successful on YouTube, but it's a fraction of a percent of people who do. But that's the thinking. That's the drive for a lot of the Gen Z, which I'm a millennial. I'm not a Gen Z. So I don't know if that's good or bad. But anyway, I know we've kind of strayed here a little bit. I mean, the celebrity bringing into WrestleMania it's a conversation that we could dive into more, but I want to bring it back to a little bit from, let's see, where do I go here? Oh, the women's tag team titles from SmackDown. I know this is also kind of another mess, and it seems as if they're going the way of a multi-woman match at WrestleMania. I don't see anything on the card yet. I mean, it looks like that's probably going to be the case where it's like I don't know who. Basically, if you're a tag team in the women's division, you get an opportunity at the championship at WrestleMania. That's probably what this is going to be. It ultimately ended in Natalya and Tamina, who got a new look, and I like it. Natalya and Tamina, who have been dominant the last several weeks, stood tall again this past week after the run-in after run-in after run-in, and I believe the original match was Natalya facing, or I'm sorry, it was Natalya or Tamina versus Shayna Baszler. I don't know which one.
I thought it was Natalya.
Natalya, yeah. Versus Shayna Baszler, which Natalya ended. Oh yeah, it was because they did the reversal into the reversal into the reversal into the reversal.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Natalya ended up getting the pin, and then everything broke down. What's your thoughts on the women's tag team title situation?
Well, that whole scramble on SmackDown was a mess. That was just a mess. I mean, okay, we get you have like 12 women's tag teams, but not a one-man's tag team or men's tag team that's going to stick together. I can't figure that one out. Of course, you're going to break them up anyway, no matter who they are and what tag team. But if Natalya and Tamina get the rub, I would like that. I don't know if Tamina's ever held a title. She definitely has the talent, and she has the strength. She's a brick of a female. I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I mean, if you're going to believe that someone's going to hurt Shayna Baszler, Tamina's that's your person right there. She looks strong. She is strong. And Shayna Baszler, I mean, I don't know a whole lot of guys that really want to mess with her, let alone a whole lot of females. And of course, Nia Jax is, Samoan lineage. So you need a great tactician in Natalya, Tamina as the brawler. I've got something I can buy in as far as going against Shayna and Nia Jax. I do kind of see the titles switching hands here because I feel that they're going to turn Jax and Baszler on each other because they don't know what else to do with them. Yep. And especially with Rhea Ripley being on the main roster now, Baszler has been pushed a little bit further down the top tier. Even though I think she's still top tier, she's been pushed down a little bit. As far as Nia Jax being floating around the top, I think her days at the top, she's upper mid-card at best. So the two of them are going to have to go face-to-face and then eventually elevate Baszler. So I really see the title switching hands. And honestly, I'd say that's good for Tamina because I've always saw her as somebody who's underappreciated. And I just think, especially with everything with her dad for the last couple of years, her life was kind of a mess. Yeah. And she was just always in the wrong place, the wrong time, and always stuck in the wrong mini factions. So why not give her a shot? Because I think she has the goods, and with the right promotion, it can go. It could be a nice little run, and let's see where it goes. I mean, why not? As far as the other teams in it, I mean, Dana Brooke, who I'm a big fan of. Once again, she's being pushed down further. Mandy Rose, they don't seem to know what to do with. I'm a huge fan of the Riot Squad, you know that, and I'm hoping that the Riot Squad get that underdog build. That it might have taken 2 years, but when we get that payoff, it's going to be a real organic payoff, and I really hope so. Aside from that, I mean, I don't know why Naomi and Lana are still employed. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Naomi has never done anything for me. If you want to talk about a wrestler who wrestles scripted, she is 100% scripted in that ring. You can always tell everything she does. You can almost see her mouth counting her steps before she does a move. As far as Lana goes, Lana is meant to be on the outside, not in the inside. That's not me being demeaning. It's just the fact that she's not a good wrestler. She should never have been in the ring. She is more a mouthpiece, which now that she's lost the accent well over a year now, there's more to do with her that way. I think she would be better replacing Charlie Caruso as a backstage interviewer than she is an on-screen performer.
Look, I think that if I'm at WrestleMania and I'm trying to test the crowd or get a sense of who they're probably going to support during that match, I think the Riot Squad is far and away who they would support. I think the Riot Squad are out of all those teams that you mentioned, because it's probably going to be a all hands on deck, every tag team gets a shot here. I think that the Riot Squad is going to be overwhelmingly the favorites of the in-person crowd. So I'm excited to hear them actually get the support that they deserve, and that they don't even get a voice on SmackDown. I mean, they're barely on SmackDown as it is, and then when they are there, they don't get a voice to elevate themselves, to give them a chance to connect with the fans, give them a chance to explain who and what they are. And even when you do, in the rare instance, hear a promo, it's those promos that are pre-taped, those like 15 seconds pre-taped promos after they've made their entrance and then they play it. Like that doesn't count to me. Those are the most scripted, awful, just do a promo to meet a quota type of promos that you can possibly do. I think the Riot Squad is far and away going to be, I think, the favorites and should be the favorites, and I'm excited to hear them get some support at WrestleMania. But to your point, too, about the women's division, I want to first touch on the SmackDown Women's Championship, and then I'll move to the Raw with Rhea Ripley and Asuka. But first, the Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks dynamic that's been going on over the last month, 2 months now, since Bianca won, has been kind of kind of a friendly competition to a breakdown of, teasing they're going to get physical, to Sasha punking her out, slapping her, pushing her. Bianca stands there like, I'm going to be the bigger woman, and points to the WrestleMania sign as if that's some kind of revenge a couple of weeks ago. And then acknowledges that on her promo last week, that Twitter really loved that one, which, yeah, that was awful, by the way. How am I supposed to even care about a babyface if you can't stand up for yourself? And then you tell me a lame excuse that you're going to be the bigger woman? Nonsense. And then she does slap Sasha last week, gets the backstabber last week, and then this week it gets worse because Bianca Belair was in a match with Carmella, beats Carmella. We can talk about Carmella on a side note too, but she gets an attempted backstabber from Sasha after the match and doesn't go after her, just stands there. I'm like, what? How am I supposed to get? And look, I'm a Bianca Belair fan. I do think she will win the championship at WrestleMania. I think that's one of those matches that you would think is a lock, that she's going to win the SmackDown Women's Championship. But I want to be able to feel like she can stand up for herself and not just have the idle threats. I mean, it's just don't make me, and I've said this before, but it's, you look at her and you're almost thinking that she's going to say to Sasha, don't make me do it. I'll point at that sign, Sasha, don't make me do it. It's embarrassing. How am I supposed to get behind her? I don't know. Maybe I'm making more of a big deal.
If there's going to be a double turn, this is going to be the match that there's a double turn, because it makes the most sense. The more you see it, the more Sasha looks like the dominant, justified person, and Bianca looks more like a fool and more like she does everything out of frustration. And I'll be the bigger person by pointing to a sign. It's like,
yeah. I
just want to scream in your face, common sense, do you have it? It's a rhetorical question because the answer's no.
Right.
I was a fan of Bianca in NXT. She got overexposed on the main roster. It was her time to win the Royal Rumble, sure. But the lead up to it, and especially the Rumble, she's become very scripted also. And just being on every week, being always put in the top tier of any female match every week. She will win this championship. If she doesn't, it's going to be a huge shock to me. But I could see a double turn on this one, and Sasha looking like a pot of gold, and Bianca looking like the heel and the bad person in this. And with that, I could also see that leading to a Street Profits heel turn too, because it all goes hand in hand. With it being common knowledge that there's a relationship there. It all has to go together. It's kind of like you couldn't leave Renee Young alone when Dean Ambrose was going crazy, so to speak. So, you might as well play to it, and it might give a breath of fresh air to the Street Profits. But we'll get to that in a minute. What's more important here is it's got to be a double turn for us to buy into why Bianca looks so foolish and just points at a sign, and it's just always frustrated and always one step behind.
Yeah. Yeah, and babyfaces should almost never be outsmarted by the heel. The babyfaces should usually be, as a rule of thumb, smarter than the heels. That's how that I don't want to feel that I'm rooting for a dumber person, right? I mean, just to really simplify it. And I feel like at times I am. And you know what? As I'm thinking about it, is this really a lock? Is this really a lock? I don't know, because we would have said that last year about Becky and Shayna Baszler. With Becky Lynch, we were like, oh, Shayna Baszler's going to win this. And then when Shayna Baszler lost, we're like, what the F? What? Why? And people were ready for Becky to drop the belt. She was getting annoying and obnoxious. And we were like, people are starting to turn on her. It's probably a good thing that they weren't in front of 80,000 fans, because that would have been a rough day at the office for Becky Lynch. And I mean, there's so many times we've said that over the last year, but maybe we're being duped into this. Maybe we are being directed to believe that she's going to win this, and Sasha does end up retaining. I mean, it's not a total impossibility, but man, oh man, this is, I can't find myself getting behind somebody that can't stand up for herself other than go, girl, and points at the sign. Come on, do something. I want you to don't just threaten. It's beyond the threatening and talking stage now. We're a week away from WrestleMania. Show us that you have a pair, and we know you do, metaphorically, of course. We know
Obviously.
that you do, go and show us. Stop with the threats and the I'll wait till WrestleMania. I'm going to take the high road. No, like taking the high road would be actually standing up for yourself, not disrespecting yourself and your integrity by just threatening at this point. We're beyond that. So that's how I feel about it. So
it almost feels like third grade name calling. I'll get you later when the teacher's not around, but it's a false threat on Bianca's part. Like she can't follow through. She just keeps looking like she has egg on her face. Yeah. Also, we said we'd touch on Carmella. What I'm going to touch on with Carmella is please stop screaming, "I'm Carmella." We know who you are, and there's no one for you to talk to. Carmella's biggest detractor right now is the fact that she mugs for the camera and she mugs for a crowd that's not there. It is really irritating to me. It gets under my skin when you're pretending to play to a crowd that we know is not there and not live. It just makes you look really foolish. With that being said, what I will say about her is, while she is not top tier women's horseman material, every time she wrestles, she gives it her all. And every time she wrestles, she gets a little bit better. Now, she might be incrementally improving by baby steps, but I never get frustrated. Like when she first came out, it was like, okay, this might be a bathroom break. As she keeps going on, she gets better in the ring. It is not, the next coming of the Dynamite Kid, but she keeps getting better. She improves a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Yes, she's ridiculously attractive, but she's, in my opinion, I think, proving that, she's not just there for looks. So, while they've reinvented her and they keep going with, the Staten Island Princess, the Glam Queen, everything else, I do see slight improvements with her all the time. So I want her to keep up that good work because who knows, in a couple of years, she could be on that top level. She could just keep taking those baby steps until it's a giant step. So good for her. That's what I have to say about Carmella.
Yeah, no, I am a Carmella fan, and I was excited when they did those teasers of this blonde woman coming back, and people were speculating, who is this? What's going on? And speaking of blonde women, I want to ask you about Charlotte and soon. But when I was like, oh, cool, they got Reginald with her. It seems like she was repackaged. I think was better on the mic than Sasha Banks was when they had their whole program together. I think she's underrated on the microphone, honestly. I'm in the ring. I agree. She is improving. I have no problems with her in the ring. Is she at that top level? Probably not. She's so close though. I mean, she is improving. That's key. And they've tweaked her character after she dropped Reginald now, where they're doing this silhouette dance with her and she's wearing this, very enticing outfit, all that, which again, I understand she's an extremely attractive woman. Corey Graves, you had to basically, take his drool cup off his desk because the guy, and he's legitimately probably drooling because of, everything that we know about what's going on with them. But yeah, I feel like maybe she is relying a little bit too much on her sexuality in her character because she's extremely attractive. 95% of the women in WWE are very attractive. That they're you could put them in a fitness and wellness magazine and they would fit right in perfectly. But I'm not a 15-year-old boy anymore, and I don't think that's their core audience anymore either, where it's the attitude era and they're sexualizing all the women. Now, I'm not saying they're going to have, Playboy pillow fights with her at WrestleMania or whatever, or, lingerie pillow fights, whatever. What I'm saying is perhaps they tone down the sexuality a little bit and get to the core of why somebody should like or dislike her. I want to know more about Carmella. I want to know what makes her tick. We understand that she's extremely attractive, but when they go the road of making somebody accentuate their top half, their bottom half, their skin tight outfits. Even Sasha Banks does this at times. It's distracting. And yes, I'm a straight man. I'm a married man, but I look at this, I'm like, oh, that's nice. But I don't watch wrestling for that. I don't watch wrestling for that. It's to me a distraction from what I should be paying attention to. And it's their being, their essence, their why should I care if you win or lose? Not just, ooh, eye candy, that's nice. And I feel like that's a very superficial thing to do with a character is when you put those elements on that character of kind of over sexualizing them, especially at this stage in the game in 2021 with the women.
No, I agree because Carmella is in a unique situation where she can also get the dreaded O word organically over because they can keep slowly tweaking her character, slowly taking away some of the sexuality part of it. But the way she continues to improve, even if it's just tightening up some of her maneuvers or not taking too many steps to do something in the corner. There's little things that she did in the beginning that she's so much better at now. And if she just keeps continuing her in-ring, eventually it's going to outweigh the sexuality. I mean, I am not a married man, and yes, I do enjoy the way she looks, but I rather watch Sasha Banks or I also think she's ridiculously beautiful. A Charlotte Flair match. Charlotte is amazing in the ring. Okay, and while she's attractive, but she's not the most attractive woman in the world to me, I love watching her wrestle. And Carmella has a chance to break through the ceiling and be known more for her in-ring and less for her photo shoot and
yes.
Playboy cover appearance. Now, with that being said, we also mentioned the name of Charlotte Flair.
Yes.
So why don't we talk about our good friend Charlotte Flair?
So people have asked me this, and now it has come to light over the last couple of days that the reason she was out is it's twofold. It may be threefold. I'm sure it's not just a singular or two reasons. I think it's many. But here's what we know: that number one is she did have COVID. Okay, that's a problem, right? They have COVID.
Yes.
She needs to be quarantined. Fine. So does Drew McIntyre did the same thing. Although even when Drew McIntyre had COVID, he was still chiming in every week, whatever storyline he was doing. So there was that. So even if they are quarantining, we all have phones. They can cut a piece of footage and send it to production. So
exactly.
I'm thinking, well, what else is going on? I mean, just because she has COVID doesn't mean she can't be a part of the show still. And so it has come to light that one of the doctors or somebody in WWE thought that she was pregnant. And that turns out to not be the case, that she is not, in fact, pregnant. So if that's the case, and if the truth is that Charlotte Flair is not pregnant, and this has just become news, and it's true, then you would think perhaps they could slide her in to some kind of match at WrestleMania this Monday night. They still have one more show to go. I'm sure creative, there's always creative issues. Everyone, no one's ever completely satisfied with creative. As Jim Ross always says, it's one of the two C's, cash or creative, typically.
Yes.
Always. And, when someone says it's not about the money, guess what it's about? But in this case, I'm sure it's partly creative, COVID, and the fact that they thought that she was pregnant, and then she turns out she's not. So am I missing something else here?
No, there's been way too many rumors that circulate around this, plus the fact being involved with Andrade, who demanded his release. This could also be a punishment, which it's not her fault. I believe this or not, I've had a girlfriend or two in my life, and whatever they did didn't directly correlate to me and my, my job. So it's inane to punish her for he asking for his release and getting it. But I've read everything from that to the pregnancy. Now, here's the thing with pregnancy: either you are or you're not. You're not kind of pregnant. Yeah, you're okay, not pregnant, it's yeah. Exactly. I mean, as a man who's expecting a child, I think you know this pretty well.
Yeah.
And so it's either you are or you aren't. And the only other thing I could think is that there could be another underlying health issue. Who knows? We don't know at this point. You and I don't know. The other thing is Charlotte is so big. She is beyond top tier. She's in that like John Cena status of females, where she's going to win 99.9% of the time. She's also going to give you a great match 99.9% of the time. But you also have to have a great dancing partner. We can't have you in there against, not to bag on Carmella, who we just talked about, and we both agree is improving. But if we see Carmella versus Charlotte on the books for WrestleMania, we already know who's going to win. So how do you put Charlotte on a WrestleMania and make it must-see TV? There's only one name out there that you could put her against and make it at the last minute and make it must-see TV, and that's Tessa Blanchard. That's it. That's the only person right now that you could say, wow, this match just got added. For me, yes, I'm going to tune in to see that. Between their fathers, it writes itself. Between what kind of in-ring you're going to get, it's going to blow anything away that we've seen in a long time. And the repercussions, it's going to make us want to watch the fallout on a Monday or on a Friday. And it can last for a long time. and it's fresh. It's brand new. We've never seen this. It's not the same rotation of the top tier women. That is the only must-see last-minute thing, and it just to have these two, give me a best of 7 between these two. I will not get bored of it. And it could headline a Raw, it could headline a pay-per-view, it could headline anything. It can be must-see TV.
That is certainly the one match that I think Charlotte needs to have before she hangs it up. And obviously, I think she will. I mean, she's young enough. I think it'll happen. If those of you have not studied Tessa Blanchard, please, for goodness sakes, just do a little research, do some YouTubing, and you'll understand why these two need to have a collision at some point. My only thought is, and people have been speculating this, including myself, admittedly, as we roll into the Monday Night Raw side of things with the Raw Women's Championship, that those of you, breaking news, who didn't know, Raw does have a Women's Championship. It does exist. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka is going to be the main event for the women's side. And is it possible? Well, number one, of course, we can break down the Rhea Ripley Asuka story, which there isn't a whole lot to talk about other than what's happened the last couple of weeks of just basically Asuka saying, sure, but you're not ready for Asuka. I mean, that's the gist, guys. That's the gist.
It is. It's.
But
go ahead. Keep going. I'm interrupting you.
No problem. My final thing I was going to say is, yes, I want to talk about that in one-on-one scenario, but also, is there any possibility Charlotte gets thrown in this last second for a triple threat?
No. I think, if anything, if she doesn't get thrown into a program with Tessa, she could be thrown onto Raw, and that's how you could bring in Tessa, which I would really like. I think that to gain more momentum for Charlotte, a disgruntled Charlotte on Raw or SmackDown, whichever, talking about being left off of WrestleMania. If she's having health issues, no matter what, she's not going to be on there. Mm-hmm. Even if she's on commentary, I would still enjoy it just because she can call moves pretty well, actually. She's really good on the mic. So if there's any way that they can have her in some capacity, I think they will. But I don't think it's going to be in ring, and I kind of hope it's not. To be honest with you, I'd rather see Asuka versus Rhea Ripley because it's fresh. I don't like the circumstances surrounding how you get a title shot, but which is something I really definitely want to delve into with right now. But no, she's not going to be interjected into it. Who knows what's going to happen in 24 hours from now, or by the time people listen to this show, things can change really fast. However, I don't see that happening because I do think there might be a health issue, and if there's not, then the must-see TV is Tessa Blanchard.
Definitely. Well, I guess I'll toss it back to you again, though. I know it's kind of quick, but I'm curious, what do you think about Asuka? Again, assuming Charlotte is a non-factor at WrestleMania, which, again, it's a blow to the women's division, but I'm sure some women are like, hey, fine, good. I mean, I'm sure some women are actually excited that it's not all about Charlotte Flair this year and that they get to maybe have a spot or an opportunity. So there is that. Like, selfishly, I mean, you kind of have to be selfish in that business, and people say that all the time. So assuming Charlotte is not a factor at WrestleMania, she just doesn't exist. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. Are you excited for this? How do you feel about the story they're telling about how it even came about?
Well, the story is weak sauce. It's not very good. That's the best way I could put it. It's like taking one little piece of beef, putting it in water, and calling it au jus. I'm not going to put my prime rib in there. Sorry, guys. I had to have one at least in the show.
I was going to say your quota's met. Yeah.
Okay. It's very weak. It's like me showing up in the crowd and saying I want to challenge somebody, which Lord knows Bad Bunny can do it. I don't see why I can't, but yet they didn't take my offer to be in the Royal Rumble seriously, so I don't see anything else happening anytime soon. So I don't like the build-up, but I do like the potential of the match. What plagues my mind is what's going to happen, because it would be kind of redundant to have both women's titles change hands. So that tells me more than likely Asuka will retain, and if they do, it's going to kill Rhea Ripley's momentum. So whichever female match happens first, we basically get the outcome of the second female's match predicted for us. So this is very pondering, because you have two people who are supposed to be the up and coming hungry challengers, and if you squash Rhea Ripley at this point, I don't mean squash like squash match, but if she doesn't get her shot and follow through this time around, you're just cutting her legs off her before she ever had a chance to run, and that's just silly. We all wanted it last year, and they took it away from her. So it's really, really silly if they do it again. With that being said, though, then that also predicts Bianca and Sasha. So I think it'll be a really good match. I really do. I think the contrast in styles will be fun. I really think that Asuka needs to go back to the character she was in Japan more than she does being this pseudo-crazy, pseudo-diva. I don't know what she is. I really am having a hard time putting my finger on it. She's supposed to be kind of like the Great Muta with mist and such, but then she screams like she's some crazy hillbilly on moonshine. I don't get it. And the more she does that, the more I disconnect from what potentially the greatness that she could have. So the more they do that, the more she talks cuts a promo, which kind of makes sense, and then all of a sudden does that speaking in Japanese and acting crazy and it's not even a good crazy. It's not I'm scary crazy. It's I've had one too many to drink, and I think my uncle can beat your uncle up kind of crazy. That's what it is, and that's what's detracting from her character. So I just want to see the wrestling. I'm in it for the wrestling. I'm for the in-ring on this one. I think the in-ring is going to be the most fun. As long as Asuka does more of her joint manipulation, more of her submission style, and, uses the mist as a weapon, and, shows more of that female version of Great Muta as opposed to whatever they've been painting her for the last 6 months besides an absentee champion.
Right. Well, in all fairness, yeah, she has been out and she got kicked in the face and tooth knocked out. She had dental surgery.
That was rough.
I do understand that. I mean, that is, understandably, she's not on Raw for a couple of weeks, several weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was, for getting your front tooth kicked out. I totally get that. I mean, that was brutal. You can't fake that. That was real. I've been a really, really, really a big critic of the fact that they have ignored the Raw Women's Championship for 6 months. There is no good reason for it. I don't want to hear that, we didn't have anyone for Asuka to challenge that could be a real threat. I don't care. Like, that's how you help bring up new talent. Even if you don't plan on having her drop the belt, that's irrelevant. You could help bring up new talent in the process, and instead, people just forgot that she was Raw Women's Champion. At least that's how it was perceived on Raw. For 6 months, they haven't defended the championship. It's a crime. It's inexcusable about how WWE has handled the Raw Women's Championship. I don't want to hear there's none. There is no excuse, no good reason. It's not that Asuka's been involved in this personal storyline that's been mind-boggling over the last 6 months that you didn't need the championship. There's been it's been inexcusably embarrassing. But you have now Rhea Ripley. They actually had these vignettes. They had the promos, which I think were really well done, about the nightmare coming to Monday Night Raw, coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. And I can't tell you the last time that they did something like this for the women. Carmella doesn't count because it really wasn't done in the same type of tone that they did Rhea Ripley for now. I love the way that they built her up as truly debuting on Raw, and not just kind of like a one and done from NXT last year, coming up with Charlotte. But this time, this is the real deal, real Rhea Ripley. I think you've seen a new and improved Rhea Ripley from 2020, and I'm loving what I'm seeing. You would think that Rhea Ripley would grab the championship here, but perhaps they don't. Perhaps Asuka does pull out the mist. She goes full heel. She retains the championship, and it also puts the babyface in chase mode. That's always a good thing. I understand it's WrestleMania, but there hasn't been a bunch of tension between Asuka and Rhea Ripley that you're like, oh, I can't wait to WrestleMania until she finally climbs the mountain and beats Asuka. It was thrown together real quickly. It's just a bunch of words, as you said, with Asuka screaming in Japanese as she does, and we're all waiting for the 5 English words so we can just understand the gist of what she's saying, which is usually, you're not ready for Asuka. I mean, that's the gist of about 95% of her promos. And now we have Asuka versus Rhea Ripley, which, again, like you said, to me, it's all about in-ring here. I don't have a real attachment to the storyline, just excited for the wrestling. This could be the best match for the women on the show. Certainly, Asuka and Bianca could put on, I think, a really good match too. It's going to be tough to see who has the better match. But I'm looking forward to this from a wrestling perspective. But from a pick who wins, you would say Rhea, but man, I could see Asuka going full heel with the Mist and retaining.
Either way, the ultimate winner here is us watching this match. I feel that I definitely feel that this is going to be the women's match to watch. The only thing that could overshadow this is if the Riot Squad actually get somehow put in as tag team champions, just because it feels like the momentum and it feels, like a real build. But yeah, like you said, use the Mist. If that's the way the retention's going to be there, I'm just afraid that it'll ultimately kill Rhea off. And so they're at a point where it's do you pull the trigger or put the gun away? And they already put the gun away once. So how many times are you going to put the gun away and take a beating? So like I said before, whichever female match happens first, we'll know by the outcome of that how the other one's going to go. Now, if they go full on with both Bianca winning and with Rhea Ripley winning, things are going to be very interesting here in the women's division then, because obviously you have new queens at the top of the hill, and you definitely have to build up new credible opponents. And so that could also be a diamond in the rough building up that we're not looking for, or that we're not seeing yet. That could be the ultimate payoff on this. So we can have some hope for that too. With new champions could be new challengers, and the way to get those new challengers could be the momentum. Thank God, I know I shouldn't say the word, but there could be momentum being built for competitors that have been overlooked, like your Dana Brooke, like your Ruby Riott, so let's hope for the best on that if both new champions are crowned.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, while you normally, I think, would be right, and you very well may be, about the tipping, the reading the tea leaves, as they say, about if you see a championship change in the women at the beginning of the night, well, then you're probably going to get a retention on the back end. I mean, usually they balance things out, but it's WrestleMania. That's the one thing. The fact that this is WrestleMania and Vince likes to make sure generally that baby faces win. It's the feel-good show. They're back in front of live fans. I don't think they want a ton of booing. People had just come out of a pandemic. Well, at least we're on the backside of it anyway. We're not really out of it, but that it typically is we want to make sure people smile when they go home type of feeling. And if Sasha and Bianca main event the first night, then I would think Bianca Belair is probably going to win the SmackDown Women's Championship, given she's the babyface in this program. So we're going to have to see, as you said, when one does one thing, typically the other does the opposite. So there's an equal and opposite reaction. But I don't know. It's WrestleMania. Vince is 70-some years old. He's 75 years old. Who knows what he's thinking? Who knows what he wants to do? Your math is usually right on that, but I don't know. I'm not really going to be writing off anything for sure, other than the fact that I will be cringing throughout the Hey Hey and Hop Hop music video.
Don't.
I don't even know. I thought about not even discussing it with you, because you and I have the exact same feelings about this whole thing. So I don't even know. Do I dare even go there? I mean, about Bad Bunny and the whole situation and the Hey Hey Hop Hop. I mean, I'm scared. I don't know what to say.
I'm going to keep this very abridged because
go ahead.
Everybody knows how I feel about The Miz. An actor playing a wrestler shouldn't be in my ring. And I don't care if you want to argue it with me. You can find me at 144Captain on Twitter. We can argue it all day, and I'll tell you how you're wrong. Okay? Now, going forward,
open challenge.
Yes, exactly. I'll take it all day and all night, and it'll be a lot of fun. But it's not about me, okay? What this is about is very interesting to me. So I've got the regular version of Hulu. I know you do commercial free because you hate commercials. We've discussed this. So if you pull it up, if you're trying to fast forward, whatever else, you'll see it broken up to where the commercials are, which is like your segments, okay? The biggest segment is right in the middle, which is technically wrestling's segment 6, which is supposed to be the top of the hour, which is where you get your highest ratings, which is 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, okay? Yep. Yes, I do a lot of wrestling homework and a lot of stuff with the ratings on my homework, okay? Mm-hmm. And do you know what that whole segment 6 was dedicated to?
No.
Yes. The Miz, hip-hop, Bad Bunny, all of that. First of all, Damian Priest's career has already been cursed by this. It's going to take him a year to recover from this. No matter what you do, what you did is you took a potential monster and you Baron Corbin'd him. Okay, just by this association, he might get negative heat just by his association with this guy. And once Bad Bunny's gone, which we can pray is sooner than later, what are you going to do with him? Because you've already made him look like a fool by backing up some guy who doesn't deserve to be in a ring. No offense to you. If you're listening to the show, sorry, buddy. You shouldn't be in the ring. It's for wrestlers. Go make music. That's what you're really good at, okay? Even though it's not my kind of music, you've made a lot of money off it, so just roll with it. It's not putting crossover buy rates through the ceiling. It's just not doing it. But yes, that was the dedicated biggest segment. And that is just inane. That is garbage, and that tells you where their priorities are. They're still trying to push the celebrity angle. It's terrible. And that whole thing, John Morrison's career is now in the toilet. Unfortunately, we had to see The Miz, and Damian Priest's career has now been set back quite a bit. That's how I feel about this whole thing.
And the sad thing is we know the outcome at WrestleMania before it even happens. And as much as I despise The Miz's character when he's with John Morrison and The Miz's character just generally as a whole, it's sad, and it will tell you exactly how I position Bad Bunny, that I'll be actually hoping that Miz flattens Bad Bunny. Like, I want Bad Bunny to be thrown off of a very tall structure, to a crashing conclusion. I mean, obviously that won't happen. I'll be surprised if he takes more than like 2-3 bumps that are super safe, and they just, put cushioning around the ring for him so that he doesn't, hurt his arm. The guy is, I'm sorry, the guy is skinny. He is not intimidating whatsoever. He's only got a big mouth because he's got Damian Priest to back him up, which is not a babyface role, by the way, at all.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It's ridiculously stupid. Just when they brought in Floyd Money Mayweather and they try to position him as a babyface, yet he had all this backup and around his mouth. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, and they never learn their lesson, and they feel that there's a net positive somewhere about bringing in Bad Bunny into pro wrestling, and it'll get more eyeballs on the product. People that follow Bad Bunny are going to say, whoa, what's he doing with this WrestleMania thing? Let's check it out. That's not how it's working, right? Most people that watch Bad Bunny everyone generally knows what pro wrestling is. Like, we all know what pro wrestling is or isn't, and we all have formed an opinion about it. I mean, talk to anybody, even your friends and family that don't watch pro wrestling know what pro wrestling is. So if I'm a big fan of big fan of Michael Jackson, I mean, it's the first one in my head. Obviously, he's no longer alive, but if I'm a big Michael Jackson fan and he is going to be at WrestleMania, I mean, and I don't watch wrestling, and I hate wrestling because it's, quote, fake or whatever, I'm not going to watch wrestling. Like, I'm not going to purchase the network to go see what he does when I could just either A, watch highlights, B, get like some kind of third-party stream that I don't have to pay for. Like, I'm not going to go and purchase the network because I'm such a fan of Michael Jackson that I'm going to find out what he does at WrestleMania. I mean, obviously, weird example, but I just don't understand why they feel that this is a net positive. And it also makes the people that are in the company, the wrestlers that have been there for 10, 20 years. In Miz's case, he's been there 15 years. And as much as I despise him, I would rather have him beat the holy hell out of Bad Bunny and go over than the opposite. That's how much I despise this type of dynamic, but they do it every year.
No, you're absolutely right. And like, look, I cannot stand The Miz. But he's 215, 220 pounds, and Bad Bunny is $130. I'm 145 pounds. I know, I've seen pictures of you. I know I cannot whip you because you're bigger and stronger than me. So if they book this Matt versus Michael Gross match, I know I'm not going to win. And it would look really silly if I'm coming off the top rope and doing sloppy maneuvers to you and winning. You know what I mean? And, well, hey, anybody could see that. So, there's only so many real situations in life, like Hoist Gracie in the first UFC when he's choking out Dan Severn and people that size. There was anomalies, but everything evolves. This is not one of those anomalies. This is not one of those situations, and it's not going to bring any kind of viewership anytime soon to any kind of streaming, or it's not going to bring any kind of viewership to any streaming or network properties at all.
No, This is, and honestly, even those small fraction of people, and I'm talking very minuscule, like less than 1% of those people, maybe less than, maybe like a fraction of 1% of people that follow Bad Bunny are like, cool, let me just get the network and see what's going on. Perhaps they do get the network and go to Peacock and spend $4.99 or $9.99 to get the network for WrestleMania. Guess what they're going to do after WrestleMania? They're going to cancel their subscription and go, okay, cool,
dump
bye.
It. Yeah, dump it. It's for anybody who already has Peacock, this is a bonus throw-in. For if you don't have Peacock, I am not laying down. Like I said, I love Mike Patton from Faith No More, but I wouldn't lay down $5 to see him in something that I don't watch. I wasn't, okay. A great example: the television show Friends. If I heard Mike Patton was on it, I'm not going to tune in to watch it, and that's free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the best way I could put it.
It's. I mean, again, we all know the outcome before it happens. Bad Bunny's going to go over. The fans are going to, I hope, you know what? That's the good thing about this one, though. Fans are in the arena, and the fans that are going to go to this, number one, are spending a boatload of money to go there. I hope they're vocal, as we talked about at the beginning of the show. Yes. And usually the ones that go to this are the ones that are the quote hardcore or the quote non-traditional, as WWE labels us as. They're the ones that have been sitting there all year and really are the ones who listen to these podcasts, who have the wrestling websites, who usually have a lot of influence in the wrestling community. Those are the ones that are, oh, by the way, they're also the foundation of WWE, the ones purchasing the merchandise for their kids. Usually those are those people that go there, and yet we are belittled every year by WWE and labeling us as some weird, non-traditional group of fans that our voice doesn't count, even though we're the ones that are your foundation and spend the most effing money every year towards your company. I hope that they go here and destroy Bad Bunny. And yes, Miz is a good heel to some degree, when he's alone, not with Miz or not with Morrison. He's unmanageable when he's with Morrison, but at least I think the fans will go, look, Miz is terrible, but we respect him 100-fold over Bad Bunny, and hopefully Bad Bunny gets booed out of the building. That's really our only hope here.
Absolutely. And I'm on my knees praying right now for it.
Everybody, please. I don't care whether even if you're atheist, just pretend. I mean, please. All right, let's get on to something else that I want to talk about, a little more serious here. And Edge comes out on SmackDown and says he declared that the Rated R Superstar is back. Now, I know it's kind of ironic in the PG era. He's obviously not going to be really the Rated R Superstar. He's not going to have live sex shows with Lita. He's not going to, he's not going to bludgeon people and he's not really the Rated R Superstar. He's like the rated PG-13 superstar at best. I mean, really, he's parental guidance at best, because you can't have a character that it overshadows your entire corporate structure of TV production and your TV ratings. It's funny that he's calling himself that in a PG era, but nonetheless, I get his premise. I understand what he's saying, that version of Edge is back, and that's what he said. People forget this. When Edge got injured at the greatest wrestling match ever, God, I hate saying that, against Randy Orton, which was a really good match, by the way, but he got injured, and his promo the next Monday night said that when I come back, and this is all threatening towards Randy Orton, when I come back, I'm not going to be Adam Copeland. I'm going to be the man that got me to where I am. I'm going to bring back the Rated R Superstar. So he's at least following through with what he said 7, 8, 9 months ago when he first got injured back in spring of last year. I'm cool with it. I don't know if this really means a heel turn for Edge or if it just means that he's going full in. He's just not the happy-go-lucky Adam Copeland, the family guy who's here to hopefully get a great win at WrestleMania, that he's actually getting deep into his character now. Is that how you took this? How did you take this?
I saw flashbacks to when Edge first turned heel back when he was tagging with Benoit, right at the beginning of the Ruthless Aggression era, right around the time they did Taboo Tuesday and all that kind of stuff, when he had that weird tweener right before he turned heel, kind of unpredictable, always frustrated, always angry Edge. Yeah. That's where I see it. I don't see the Rated R Superstar was more smug, more his exploits with Lita and the whole Matt Hardy situation went out of, it went out of the private sector and into the public. And that's how they created that version of the character. So I don't see the Rated R Superstar. I see the frustrated, angry, am I a face, am I a heel, I'll do whatever it takes to win kind of version. The problem is because he's a legacy character, a throwback, and a legend, and limited, people are going to have a hard time booing him. And so it makes him a default babyface with a bad attitude. But he's definitely by not any kind of stretch the rated R superstar. In fact, what I would like is a different version of him. And however you could evolve it, because there's a million ways you can evolve a character. Look at people like Chris Jericho. Look at Kurt Angle, the way he started to the way he finished. There's always different people. Nick Bockwinkel is another one. You can take a character and turn it into something else. People forget that before Ric Flair was the Nature Boy, he was a brawling hillbilly that tagged up with Dusty Rhodes and was 300-something pounds and not in very good shape. So you can turn something, you can spin it and still make it marketable. And to try to promise the same thing that we had years ago that we liked then in a watered down version, it just adds to more frustration. So now with the anticipation of the match coming up, I see Roman Reigns retaining because I think the ultimate plan for him is that he and Drew are going to go at it again down the road, and that's going to be part of their so-called superstar shakeup. It's all the same company. It's either you wrestle on Monday or you wrestle on Friday. It's the same venue. Come on. So that's going to be the ultimate plan going down the road, I see in the future. So without a prize to dangle in front of it, you don't make it that much more important. So what I think we'll get out of the match is that Daniel Bryan is going to carry the weight of the world as far as making it a technical spectation, or the spectatorship is going to be from the technical aspect on Daniel Bryan. The unpredictability is going to come from Edge, and the ruthlessness is going to come from Roman Reigns. And obviously, like I said, I see Roman Reigns standing tall. Of course, one of the Usos will get involved, which that's getting a little played out. I think there's other things you could do with him at this point because he's the weirdest lackey in the world at this point. You're a cousin. Sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not, and you get slapped around by your own cousin. I don't know what's going on with that family. That any family member of mine like that, I really wouldn't speak to. But Roman Reigns retains, and that's the way the match is going to come together, and that you're going to have false finishes all due to Edge. And that's how Reigns is going to retain, because Edge and Bryan won't be able to go on the same page. You're going to see Bryan with the yes lock on. You're going to see Edge spearing the wrong person. He's going to go for Reigns, who's going to move, hit Bryan. I'm just hoping we get the best version of this match we can.
It has the potential also to be very good. I mean, this match could, again, you talk about false finishes. This is going to be the king of false finishes.
Yes.
No doubt, especially triple threat. We're going to be reminded, of course, that triple threat, that the champion doesn't have to be involved in the decision to lose. I mean, I can't wait for that narrative to come out next week, because we just have never seen one. And by default, every triple threat is a no DQ match, which is still just ridiculous on its face that you have every triple threat by default be no DQ. And people say, well, what do you do? What if someone uses a chair? Easy. You take them out of the match, right? Like, they lose. Like, they are out of the match. They get disqualified. They leave the match, and then it's one-on-one. I mean, it's very simple. It's a very simple solution to take out no DQ for every match that's triple threat. Now, again, whatever. It is what it is. There's going to be weapons involved. It's going to be, I think, a 25-minute classic. It's going to be very, very good. I have no issue about the quality of this match. And this past week, of course, we saw Daniel Bryan snap and leave everyone laying, just as the week before Edge left everyone laying, which logic would tell you at WrestleMania SmackDown this week, which is not a thing, it's still SmackDown, Roman Reigns is going to leave everyone laying. Like, that's exactly the way that WWE books, and that's the way that I believe it's going to happen, is Roman Reigns spears Edge, spears Bryan, brutalizes them, and oh my God, can they make it to the triple threat? They're going to, which is fine. They're trying to sell the match. I get it. But that's where they're going probably for WrestleMania SmackDown this week, and that's fine. I think that, again, standing right now, that Roman Reigns has a chance at retaining. I think Edge has a chance at winning. I think Daniel Bryan has little to no chance of winning. I think Daniel Bryan is there to take the fall for Edge or Roman. I really hope Roman is the one to retain, because as I'm a huge Edge fan. I think Edge has still a lot to contribute, but I think that the future and a great heel run supersedes even a Hall of Fame return. And to get Edge back to the way he was, he's 90% of what he was in terms of in-ring ability. He's still really good on the mic. That's not the problem. And it's sad that I have to sit here and say I still don't want Edge to win, even though it'd be a great feel-good story. It'd be 10 years exactly for when he had to give up the championship. I understand all that synchronicity. That would be very nice to tell in a documentary series. I get that. But I don't think that supersedes the great heel run that Roman Reigns is on right now that very rarely comes along. We've seen heels come and go over the decades, and very few are actually cast and are successfully executed to where people want to see someone and would pay to see someone get beat up. That is rare. I mean, not the cool heel that, yeah, they're cast as a heel, but people still cheer them because they're kind of cool, right? Roman Reigns is on a rare run that I would say should supersede anyone else's need to win that match at WrestleMania and keep that heel run and momentum going.
Well, like I said, down the road, the money is Drew versus Roman too. And I think the second time they do it, it's going to be very, very good. Not to say the first one was bad, but I think it's going to be even better. You just have more polish, more time, and more it's not as thrown together at the last minute as it was before. And when you build it that way, I just think that it makes it just more palatable, more desirable. It makes it more desirable. Also, we have to remember that Edge can only wrestle per his contract 5 times a year. Right. So he is going to go out of his way to have matches with people he never has before. The original plan was AJ Styles. Now we know AJ is in the last contract of his career. What I could see, and this would be the ultimate match, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, is a 3-way retirement. All 3 retire in a triple threat match between Bryan, Edge, and AJ Styles a year from now. That is must-see TV. Yeah. And you build it throughout the year by having those 3 always in each other's business, always getting at each other. Because AJ, I don't know what he's doing right now. If you could tell me, it looks like it's a Mania that he has no purpose. I can't really think of what he's doing, which is sad. The Almost character is years away from a real in-ring personification. So, like the Almost thing I see is like the Shawn Michaels Diesel thing, except I think they learned their lesson with Kevin Nash that he was just terrible in the ring, so they got to have something to present once AJ, retires. So while you're going to have one of the greatest in-ring performers arguably ever in AJ kind of mentoring him and showing him things behind the scenes and always, together, to build further down the road, to have AJ and Daniel Bryan continue their problems and qualms with each other, costing each other matches, throwing in AJ once you do a superstar shakeup or something like that. It just kind of makes sense because not all of them have that much left on their body. Could I see Edge having one more world title run? Sure. But it's also, you got to look at, with somebody limited in-ring appearances, how do you build an elongated storyline when they can't wrestle every month? So that's the kind of things that I'm looking at as far as Edge goes right now. So that's kind of where I see things going. That's where I'd like to see it go. But Reigns, he's got to retain because the money is in he and Drew in a longer program, Second Coming.
Well, to answer your question about AJ Styles, because I wanted to confirm this too, and I think you and I are victims of the Hulu version of Raw, which cuts out things, and a lot of times AJ and Omos are not a part of the edited version of Monday Night Raw, and what they're doing is challenging the New Day for the Raw Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania. So we get to see the debut of Omos in the ring with AJ Styles against the New Day for those tag team belts, which, I get now. I understand the logic, although I don't agree with it, of why they dropped the Hurt Business with the tag team belts to give it to New Day. So it's babyface versus heel, not heel versus heel. But I think Omos and AJ could have been the de facto babyfaces in that match. But I think that they wanted, it's New Day. They're more of an established team. We're going to have them drop the belts, which is a bunch of crap. I don't think New Day need the belts ever again.
No,
and I actually have resentment when they have the belts. But yeah, that's the role right now is AJ Styles and Omos in that tag team role, challenging for the Raw tag team titles at WrestleMania.
But with the with the Hurt Business being dropped by MVP and Lashley, they could become de facto baby faces and still be in that position with the titles on them still to go against AJ and Almost, whatever his name is, as the heels. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot either way, because now we're getting... While the New Day are talented, they are very, very hard for me to watch these days because they're overexposed to the point of irritating. It's not channel changing like The Miz to me, but it's very hard for me to watch them because it's one thing to have a live crowd and kind of play to the crowd. It's another thing to play to nobody, kind of like Carmella does, but to take it to level 15 on a 1 to 10, which they always do. And we're bored. We're sick of them. There's other things to be done with them. And putting the titles on them, which they don't need, and having them kind of irritate us, which we don't need, it's not helping any young talent, and it's not going to help AJ and Almost. I don't know.
Okay. Take your pick. Yeah,
exactly. The point is, I could have bought more into this tag title situation with a freshly dumped Hurt Business. It would have made more sense to me that way. De facto babyface, they could have just done it a week or two prior, and the New Day could be involved in something else on a different path, and maybe evolving their characters more to be less caustic on the eyes and ears when they come out and less overexposed.
All right. Well, very good. I mean, I'm with you. I have a few other topics I want to get to before we close things out, but I do have to ask, I know we talked a little about Logan Paul, but outside of Logan Paul and whatever his role is at WrestleMania, whether it's actually in a match or not, we'll find out at next week's SmackDown. Sami Zayn's conspiracy theory, his red carpet premiere of his conspiracy theory trailer that debuted this past week on SmackDown. Kevin Owens, he came out, delivered a stunner, and then shoved Logan Paul out of the way. Obviously, these two are having a match at WrestleMania, which we know in ring is never going to disappoint. But I guess, are you disappointed in the storyline? Are you not with Sami Zayn on this whole conspiracy theory thing, or how do you feel about Kevin Owens' position at WrestleMania as well? How do you feel about everything?
It's a waste of a top tier match. It could be so much more with a better storyline. I don't like it. It was kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny at first, but now it's been taken too far, especially to have the big blow-off at the supposed biggest show of the year. We're getting what's going to be solid in-ring mixed with a lot of corny backstory. There's just other ways it could have been done. And then, of course, we have the celebrity factor. And whose side is the celebrity going to be on? Because now he's been shoved by KO, but he's also part of, Sammy's got the conspiracy against him and against everybody, and it kind of leaves it convoluted as to where a person like this Logan Paul, who nobody wants to see on the product to begin with, is going to lie and how he's going to affect the outcome of this match. So yeah, I think it takes away. It's a detractor to what could be some really solid wrestling. It's the same thing with Cesaro and Seth Rollins. I like Seth Rollins as a Jim Jones cult leading messiah, not as a guy who says, I'm never going to get spun again. Never, never, never. Like, it's so scripted. Then all of a sudden he gets spun. You've got four guys who you could mix those four any way in matches and have great matches. And just the over-scripting of it and the bad storylines behind it and the dumbing down of the characters has affected it. But I'm looking forward to watching the matches. This coming WrestleMania, I think there's going to be surprisingly about 4 to 5 good in-ring matches with terrible storylines and possibly detrimental outcomes. And unfortunately, victims of circumstance here are going to be Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I wish they would do more with Sami Zayn. I really wish, while it was kind of funny for a second, too much funny, it becomes corny and then becomes it becomes a festering wound. And I don't need my wrestling to give me an infection. I need – it's the best way I can put it right now. I don't want it to be where I'm sick of Sami Zayn when I watched him for so many years as El Generico, especially he and Kevin Owens and the stuff they did in Ring of Honor and Pro Wrestling Guerrilla and stuff. We could if they mimic some of those matches they had, and if Vince will pull back the governor on them and let them do what they do best, we could have some really great classic matches. And Cesaro and Seth Rollins, the same thing. Let them channel who they were years ago and the reason that you signed them, and we can have some really good stuff. Just don't force them to say silly things. And let's not interject people who have no business, like Logan Paul, being in the ring or affecting the outcome. So yeah, it's watered down greatness. That's what it is. It's like, the last couple sips of orange juice, and you liked it so much, so you pour a little water in it to make it last longer, but it's just not the same. That's where I am with that.
That's funny. Yeah, it's kind of an analogy I was going to go with too. Like top shelf liquor, and you throw water in the vodka, and you're like, yeah, it's still top shelf liquor. Yeah. Yep. So I went the alcohol route. You went the orange juice route, so more immature. But at the same time, look, Logan Paul. We've already discussed what we could think about that. They're never going to want a celebrity to be in a position to look bad or get booed. So that would tell me that even the shove from Kevin Owens is not going to be enough for Logan Paul to turn and try to attack Kevin Owens at WrestleMania, although I wouldn't mind if he took a stunner. I think that it's going to be him turning on Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens gets the victory, and the celebrity stands there, and they're both, holding hands high like they're best friends, and, it's going to be just a feel-good moment, at least a perceived one by Vince McMahon. And, Sami Zayn's going to continue to just lose match after match after match. Sami Zayn's a heel, a perfect example of an entertaining heel that does not have heat on him. And I'm like, well, then he's not a heel, right? He's kind of a diluted baby face. That's what he is. Like Sami Zayn, I don't feel like I like his character in terms of, I find him entertaining. I think he's good on the mic. His conspiracy thing, I don't dislike it as much as some people do. So I don't want to see him get beat up. I actually find him entertaining, but I know he's cast as a heel. So again, that's where I talk about Roman Reigns. That's the difference. Randy Orton over last summer that's the difference. Heels like that do not come along very often. So anyway, yeah, Kevin Owens, we know what kind of match they're going to have. Logan Paul is the wild card, and they're going to have a really good match. As far as Cesaro and Seth Rollins, look, WWE just threw them together knowing that this is a surefire thing. They know that these two are going to have a great match, and they will. They're not really fighting for anything other than, I guess, pride or who's the better man or how many times Seth Rollins is going to be swung, which is just ridiculous. But honestly, I don't even like the swing. I think the swing is like it gets them dizzy, I guess, but it also gets Cesaro dizzy. I mean, I don't get it. I don't understand the appeal of the swing. I've never been a fan of it. It's all sizzle and no steak, as Jim Ross would say. It just is like, okay, you're swinging someone around. I mean, I could do that with my 3-year-old son, and I wouldn't do it 22 times, but I don't know. So I've never been a fan of that, but I understand what they're going for here. This past week, their promo together wasn't great. Seth did the best he could to keep it together, but all the puns about Cesaro, how many times he could fit the word swing in there, like take a swing at me. It felt very tater tots like it felt like the writer they brought back for it felt very much like whoever wrote that for Roman. They got in contact with their person and they're like, hey, we need some good stuff. Can you write us? Can I email us over a promo for Cesaro and SmackDown? It felt like that same guy. Or Gal. I don't know who it was. But it was so WWE to try to throw in those puns. That's not who Cesaro is. It didn't make me want to see this match more. I didn't learn anything more about Cesaro. it was not a good promo for Cesaro. I think it was detrimental. In fact, Seth did the best he could, but it was not good for Cesaro. I mean, the match we know is going to be fine, but I don't know.
No, it like you said, match is going to be fine, but yeah, it was definitely the promos were suffering succotash level. I just hope they let him tear it down. Because
Burn it down.
it's gonna be fantastic. I really think the match is gonna be solid. But the less they speak, the better. It'll just be more fluid that way. It'll be more memorable. That's the best way I could put it. More memorable. And don't give me. I usually kind of like a little bit of a post-match interview and stuff at WrestleMania. Some people just want match after match after match. But to me, that kind of. I mean, there's got to be some kind of feelings and emotion and frustration, and you got to see some of that aftercare or setting the table or setting, it's a preamble to the story when you're going into it. Like, give us a little something before the match. So, but in this case, this is one of those. I just need the match.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even be mad if it was the curtain jerker, because that makes it that much more. It just kicks off WrestleMania on the right foot with the best foot forward. Let's give us a great match right out the gate. Let's just let them do it and then follow it with something else. But let's not have any promo time. Let's just go right into wrestling. That's how I feel.
Agreed. Yeah, I think the less they say, the better in this program. There's nothing really personal here. It's all professional. That's fine. I want these two to just kill it, and I hope they're given enough time on the show to do it. So, okay, couple more topics, and then I'll toss it to you for anything I missed. Is Randy Orton and The Fiend? I have no idea what kind of match they're going to have at WrestleMania. I've really rattled my brain. It can't be straight up wrestling. We know that. I would think it's a no DQ, just straight up flat no DQ, because that opens the door for a lot of other things to happen rather than restricting yourself to a specific stipulation. No DQ is like, okay, there's no DQ, but you can do a lot of, like, infinite amount of things within no disqualification. So I think that's probably where they'll go with it, because you can't go beyond an Inferno match. You just can't. So that's my thought. I think that The Fiend goes over. I don't think there's any other way around that. That's not really the issue. But the interesting thing, too, is Alexa Bliss on Alexa's Playground this past week on Raw said that the Legend Killer would die at WrestleMania. I'm not a fan of WWE or wrestling in general talking about death in their promos, that they're actually going to kill someone. Now, that's not what she said. She just said the Legend Killer would die at WrestleMania. Now, does that mean psychologically? I mean, you can't obviously deliver on the premise that his physical body is going to die. It's wrestling. Like, you can't ever pay that off, which is why you never go there. You never talk about actually killing your opponent. It's just, you just don't touch it. But perhaps she was metaphorically speaking that the character of the Legend Killer would die at WrestleMania, whatever that means, getting in his head, perhaps. I don't know. But how did you take this, and what about their match at WrestleMania?
Well, everybody knows that if you lose to The Fiend, you revert to a former version of yourself. So I think that when Randy Orton ultimately loses this match, because if they drag it on any further, it just doesn't make any sense, he'll become a different, a prior version of Randy Orton, which would be Evolution Lackey, or perhaps when he first came in and he used that like high crossbody from the top rope as his finisher. It was just terrible. Yeah. Remember when he got his shoulder surgery and he would give you the Orton updates?
Yeah, and like he was like 25%, it's 26%. Yes, he would come in with the Orton ONN update or something. Yeah.
My favorite one is that he's giving, like, they go to interview somebody, but you can tell he's coming back as a heel, and he gives the Orton update, and he's like, I'm at 85%, and then the camera pans over to Vince McMahon. He's like, it's great to have you back, Randy. And he slaps him on the shoulder, the one he had surgery on. And then it pans back to Orton. He goes, 75%. That was hilarious. So what I think that's what they meant with it. You can't, it's like the whole, when The Fiend was killed, there's certain things you just don't touch because it doesn't make sense. Okay, the next thing is we're going to have aliens wrestling in these cinematic matches, and I'm afraid it's going to be a cinematic match, which it probably will. So let's just brace ourselves for like
That's
that match
piss
you had
off
with
the
Cena.
fans, though. You got to remember the fans there. I mean, the fans are going to. We're not in the Performance Center this year, so fans are going to lose their mind if they pay all that money and then it's cinematic. They just have to watch it.
The way around that, it's going to be a boiler room match, and then they make it cinematic. Coming to you live from the boiler room when it was filmed last week.
Right.
So my new name for the Fiend is the Baconator, and he's palling around with Baconator Jr., which would be Alexa Bliss. I don't know what to really expect on this, except the Fiend's got to go over. Probably going to be one of those like I said, a boiler room out of the sight of the fans. Just shown on a like the Titantron or whatever they call it these days, just so they can kind of sneak in a cinematic or something, that some kind of burning somebody alive, hokey thing that we really don't want to see. If it's going to be a straight up wrestling match, they better really pull out the bells and whistles on this one, because this could be the one that the fans turn on. This could be the one where they really, really turn on it if they try to get a little hokey in front of live people, or if the Fiend doesn't get the justice that the people want. Mm-hmm. That's going to be it, and that's with Alexa Bliss saying that he's going to die. That's the ultimate outcome, because you remember the Fiend had the Firefly Funhouse had all the victims, and Daniel Bryan became the American Dragon persona again, and Finn Balor went back to NXT, so on and so forth. So it's going to be some alteration of him. And if he gets his shoulder injured in it, mark my words, I want to see those Orton updates.
Oh, my God. People forget about that. I loved that. God, I love that.
It has to be a prior version of him. So some kind of not reinventing, but de-evolution of his character. So what do you think? That's the only way I could see it is definitely pre-match or pre-taped, and that's going to be like the stipulation. And so I think that'll be the build for this week. If not, and it's live, mark my words, if the fans turn on one, this is going to be the match.
It has a very high potential of the fans turning. It also has the high potential of the fans going, "Oh my God, is Randy okay?" I think they could go either way, where it does come off cartoonish and the fans turn on it like they did with Seth and Fiend at Hell in a Cell and start chanting BS. They could turn on it and just completely crap all over it. Again, or the opposite end of the coin. I don't think there's going to be a middle ground here, because there's such an extreme factor to this match and this story. It's one extreme or the other, though. I don't think there'll be a middle ground. Or again, the other side of it is the great side of, oh my God, the match quality. Again, the match quality isn't even the factor here. It's the story, it's the antics, it's the magic tricks that are really what's the fans are wondering about. Not necessarily, can they have a great match? Nobody's asking that. No one's asking about the fact that, do you think that there'll be a lot of hammer or drop toe holds and hip tosses? No one's asking.
Not the dreaded arm bar.
Yeah, I know. or they just point at the WrestleMania. Whoever points at the WrestleMania sign the longest wins the match. I just think that this is going to be. I hope it's not cinematic for the fans. For the fans sitting there paying thousands of dollars and taking time off work and all the merch and everything that they spend to sit there and watch a cinematic presentation, even in part. If
that would definitely be a turn. That would be almost a live crowd riot, I would think. Yeah. They would have to mute the crowd and do their own piping in of sounds, which they're really good at. It appears, but I also could see whatever matches followed it, the crowd still being ornery by not getting the result or by getting something so kindergartenish. Fed to them.
They need to be very careful.
This one, that's one of the reasons I really want to see this match, because I want to see what the reaction is going to be, and if they're going to do it right and do it justice, or if they're going to try to treat us like 6-year-olds at nap time.
Yeah, right. And just here's your warm milk and go to bed. I mean, I'm very interested. And I think obviously on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night, we're going to get more information on the stipulation. You would think they've come up with a stipulation that will direct us to really, is this going to be cinematic or is it going to be in ring? I mean, again, so, okay. The last program that I have here is Braun Strowman and Shane McMahon. And this whole storyline began, of course, on the playground, as we just described, of somebody calling somebody else stupid. And Braun Strowman only knows one emotion, that is anger. And he just is constantly angry about everything. Shane McMahon apparently does 58 burpees before he comes out to be on the mic. He's always sweating and out of breath. Every single time that I don't know what it is. That's the only explanation, is he's doing burpees or something in the back before he comes out. And it's all over Braun being stupid, because it's brains versus Braun. So I guess that's the pun we're all supposed to laugh at. But Braun Strowman, to his detriment, is very one-dimensional. Again, he's extremely one-dimensional in the fact that he's just always angry. Everything is anger. Everybody's going to get these hands. It's so one-dimensional. The guy's a very athletic big guy. That's one attribute. He's got a great look. There's another attribute. And that's kind of where it ends for Braun Strowman for me. That you can build on that, and he's an okay promo. He's okay. Shane McMahon is, to me, I think Shane was actually better when he was 20-some years old in the Attitude Era in the early 2000s. I think he was better on the mic, better in the ring when he was, 20-some years old than he is now. I think he's uncomfortable on the mic now for whatever reason. He's regressed in that area. But what I can't stand is the fact, number one, that this is built on a "you're stupid" premise. It literally is built on that. Number two, you have the sound effects for Braun Strowman now that WWE pumps in like a train's coming through when he does his outside the ring ramming through people, which, again, if anybody knows basics of physics, if you have to cut a corner, you can't continue to accelerate your momentum. He's not going to be going any faster because he's going around a square. He's not running in a straight effing line. There's a maximum amount of force that he can have because he has to turn the corners. It's ridiculous that they're putting in sound effects. And the fact of Braun Strowman making the stipulation that it's a steel cage match. Has he watched wrestling at all? Or have, the writers watched wrestling ever and learned the fact that the steel cage does not, in fact, keep people out? It actually invites people in. It does not create the illusion that somebody can't run. Well, actually, yeah, they can run because there's a door and there's a wall they can climb, which not only can they escape, but that's also a method of victory. You can actually just walk out of the damn cage and win the match, which is that is a whole rant I could go on the show about, of how stupid that stipulation is for steel cage matches, that your objective is to just walk out the door or run away from your opponent is how you win. But I could go on about this. I'll stop and let you pick it up.
Well, Braun Strowman right now is like a boat at sea without a captain. It's without a crew, because you don't know where it's going. Yeah. He's always angry. For the love of God, stop spitting on your own beard.
Yeah, that's so distracting. Yeah,
it's also disgusting. I don't know why it really bothers me. I know it's dumb. Okay, and for everybody listening, I know you can laugh at me. But I just think it's disgusting, and it's just it just makes you look stupid. And I don't mean like Braun's an idiot. I mean it makes you look dumb, like you can't control your own body functions. This match does nothing for me. You could tell by the way that Shane smiled when he found out it was a steel cage match, that Elias and Jackson Riker are going to be under the ring for some reason. Something like that's going to happen. Also, let's not forget that Kane is going into the Hall of Fame, so I wouldn't be surprised if he pops up in the middle of the ring. But that's not going to happen because you're going to have matches afterwards, so you can't destroy your ring. Mm-hmm. I got to make another note here for the end of the show. All right, so this program makes no sense. It's one of those, well, the Big Show's gone, and we don't know what to do with Braun because we've made him so big and indestructible. We don't know how to book him, because if we put him in a title picture and he doesn't win, we don't know how to describe that. How is this guy inhumanly strong and turns over semis, but he just can't seem to hold on to the IC title. I just don't buy it. They don't know what they do. They've painted themselves in the corner one too many times with him. And this is what's going to happen. He's going to destroy the cage. He's going to show off those mighty muscles and somehow destroy. Going to rip the door off. He can't if there was no spectators, then I would say he would destroy one wall of the cage. But because they're going to want to show people as much as possible, which means they're going to try to have people as close to the ring as possible. In my mind, you couldn't have the cage to where it could be destroyed and potentially fall on people and hurt them.
Right.
You know, unless you can make it work like that, I just don't see it. Now, I could be wrong, but he's going to destroy the cage, and then the lackeys are going to get in, or the lackeys are going to be under the ring. Somehow the lackeys get in. I'll just be happy when this program's over. But once it's over, they're not going to know what to do with him again, and they don't have a credible person big enough to take him out. I mean, they do. It's just this is a guy a couple of years ago who impressed me with how much he improved in the ring. Okay, but now it's like he's become the revert. It's not scripted. He's just it's 5 moves of doom. He's become a 5 moves of doom character, and that train whistle thing is just god awful.
It's so bad. And
yeah, how are you going to do that inside the cage, you idiot? Way to develop that now going into a cage match. Hello. And it's just the dumbest premise. Okay, it is the dumbest. You're stupid. Like,
yeah.
So that's supposed to get you that angry that you're gonna. You can't outsmart a guy who's calling you stupid, but you're like 20 times stronger. And then the whole interaction between he and Drew, which could be Drew's next program before he eventually goes to SmackDown to go against Reigns. At least that's viable. It's plausible that Drew can beat him, and he's big enough and strong enough. So I can buy that maybe there's a Braun heel turn down the road, and that Shane McMahon could get into his mind and coax him into turning heel. That might happen, but this match does nothing for me. In fact, you know what this match says? One, we got to involve Shane because he's the owner's son. He's an owner too. You know, those McMahons have to have some kind of handle on a match. And 2, we couldn't afford another celebrity. That's all this says to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're even mentioning this match and talking about it more than we are Big E versus Apollo it's a shame, but it's the truth because it's going to get more press and more minutes and more follow-up than Big E versus Apollo, which could be a sleeper great match.
I'm going to switch to, because I'm just going to rant about Shane and Braun Strowman. And I don't want to take up listeners' time because everybody knows how you feel. I feel the exact same way about this match. It is just it's nothing more than Vince going, "Up, Shane, I need you to get back in shape. We need you at WrestleMania." And he did that with The Undertaker. He did that with who was it, Randy Orton or AJ Styles rather. They faced each other at WrestleMania, and now we've gotten Randy or Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman in a steel cage and whatever. I mean, there's 100 things that we could talk about to dismantle the logic of how this happened, why it's a waste of time, but I think we'll be wasting our breath. So let's talk about Apollo and Big E. I'm a big fan of this storyline. Now, I know you're not big on his adoption of his new character. He had just Apollo Crews, that is, about him bringing in the Nigerian accent. I got to say, he's done a good job of bringing in an accent where typically accents go the opposite way and they just go into Never Never Land and we never see him again. Kofi Kingston's Jamaican accent, Lana's Russian accent, they go into the land of misfit toys and we never hear from him again. But in this case, Apollo Crews is like, you know what, I'm just going to take one. And he's going to say, and he's done a good job. I got to say, his Nigerian accent it is very believable. I got to give him that, and he has turned his career around in the matter of a couple of weeks by just being a good heel, leaning on his family heritage. Again, his promos I think are good to very good at times. Do I think Apollo Crews is a top tier heel right now? No. Do I think he could be? I haven't seen enough. I don't know for sure. But Big E and Apollo, you feel something there, right? Like, I actually want to see Big E beat the crap out of Apollo Crews. That's how we should feel. We should feel some kind of emotion one way or the other with every match. We should, in theory. And I do for this match. I'm looking forward to this. I hope it's not as awkward as their last encounter. I'm going to chalk that up to just whatever, and that this will be a proper match for these two. And I actually hope Apollo Crews wins this.
I'm with you on hoping he wins. I want to see the match. I want to see exactly where it goes. I'm hoping that Big E can figure out if he's truly a babyface or if he's a heel.
Yeah.
Because Apollo's supposed to be the heel in this one, right? Yeah. So that's because with the antics, he's got to develop his character into a true babyface. As far as Apollo goes, I love the heel turn. I don't like the accent. I could buy everything except for the accent. It just I just don't like it. The only way you could make the accent work, in my opinion, is if like you do like not necessarily a hidden camera, but him talking to somebody like Apollo, and then like, hey, and then you see somebody coming up to interview him, and all of a sudden he clicks on the accent like he's trying to be a jerk.
Yes.
I could buy that more. Like that could be a little bit more fun. It's not completely comedic. It's just him being a jerk, and that adds that heel heat. So that way I could buy into it, and it would make me say, yeah, he's really trying to get under my skin. Definitely, it's got to be better than that last outing they had because it didn't make sense. This can go either way for me as far as who wins, and you know how big of an Apollo Crews fan I am, but I think that Big E has been wasted for 8 years now? 7 years on the main roster, as far as being a single star, a true single star, and a true singles push. So it's one of these situations where it's like when he finally gets a good program, and in the right place, it's with somebody you don't want to see go under. So it's a tough one, which makes us both the winners and the losers as the spectator. I still also, okay, with Apollo's character, I could buy, like I said, I just like him as a heel. I really do. And I hope he continues it. And just giving these guys more than 5 minutes and not having some wonky finish and some very, forced match because somebody else because the Shane McMahon, Braun Strowman match went too long, so now you got to schmoz it. I don't want that. Let these guys have some fun out there. This is WrestleMania, and these guys are getting a chance to show off, but for the love of God, can we please get Big E a new finisher? You and I you're going to say this until they do it. That stomach breaker isn't doing him any favors anytime soon. So with Big E defining his character more as a face, with a longer match, and with Apollo healing it up. I even want to see him kind of pulling the old Eddie Guerrero on his knees begging for mercy at one point. Feed the character. Because, Apollo looks like he could rip you up. He's not as big as Big E, though. So always having a bigger babyface than you do heel is a challenge, because it almost becomes like it becomes like a comeuppance of a bully. But when your bully is the bigger guy, I got to have more heelish tactics from Apollo. Give me that begging on his knees, and then when Big E, kind of gives him a break and steps back, poke him in the eye. Let's have some fun with Flair. It. Yeah. Yes, give me that, because I really need this Apollo character to take off. So like you said, he's not top tier. He won't be for a long time as a heel, but he's going to be a hell of a lot higher on the card than he was as a babyface.
That is the most important thing, and I'm seeing signs that this could continue to progress. Again, there'll be times where he flattens out and you feel like they're going to go backwards with him, and you just don't see him. And that's just kind of the way the WWE has booked. I don't think he's going to the moon right now, but he's been there long enough. The fans know who he is. He's just been the smiling, good athletic guy. And now we actually have, after 7 years of that, in 2 weeks, we learn all about his heritage. We actually have emotion for him. Imagine that. And like that, we all understand where he's from, why he's angry with Big E. We learned about his family. We learned about his vicious side, all of that. 7 years is just nonsense to this. It's a great thing to see, and it shows you that sometimes just flipping a switch, and instead of trying to get a guy over that's all smiling because they're supposed to smile because they're the good guy, which I think is a bunch of crap. I don't think did you ever see Stone Cold smile? No. Even when Undertaker was a baby face, do you see him smile? No. I mean, there's so many examples why Vince has the incessant need for every babyface. You got to smile when you're a baby. No, it's crap. But this program I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the ascension. To me, this is about the ascension of Apollo Crews. And yeah, Big E to the same degree. He's in a similar path. He's freshly a single star that is actually showing a little bit of fire and a little bit of ability to cut a angry promo. That's what I've been looking for. I don't need a complete dark turn for Big E. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for just range instead of just everything's a joke no matter what. And that's what I got last week and this week on SmackDown. I'm looking forward to what these two do. Again, I'm concerned about time, just as you are, that Vince is going to look at this, and if other matches go long and this one has to be at the chopping block, that they get 6 minutes instead of 16 minutes, which is what I think they need. They need like 15 minutes, maybe longer, to tell that great story. And that's what I am really looking forward to. Ultimately, like you said, I think Apollo Crews is going to win, but I would not touch this with a 10-foot pole with money on the line, because either man could win this. And I honestly both have a good case to either in Big E's case keep it, or in Apollo Crews' case to obtain it. So this is tough, but I'm looking forward to this program. So yeah.
With definition of Big E's character, with more texture and depth and true babyface alliance, I should use the proper words in the right way, in the right context, I should say. Then we're going to get more out of this, and just like I said, like we both agree, more minutes. Don't force it. Let's see where it goes. And I would definitely make Apollo as dastardly as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't want him frowning. I don't need him doing the anti-smile. And it's funny because when you're saying, you didn't see the Undertaker smiling, could you just imagine like hearing the gong go off?
Has this big smile.
He has like his arms spread, then he just gets this big like goofy smile on his face, and then does like the finger guns like pew 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 pew.
Yeah.
Like no,
yeah.
Some things just don't work. But yeah, this there's no absolute way to predict this one.
No,
I can't say 100%. There's like I said, with the women's match, we know if one match goes one way, that the other match will go the other. I'm not touching this one either as far as prediction goes. I'm just hoping that these guys have a chance to shine, and I'm hoping that both of them can reinforce their characters and develop their characters further.
Yes. And
Big E, be a face. Do something very face-like, and don't act like you're still part of the New Day and
hip swivels
doing hip swivels and sophomore jokes and don't bring back those pancakes and those stupid sweaters. And as far as Apollo goes, man, I hope that he watches old Ric Flair, old Eddie Guerrero, old I'm trying to think who else, maybe a little bit of Mr. Perfect at the height of his smarminess. That's kind of the character, the level I want him to develop.
Like what I'm envisioning is, like you said, the eye poke, the eye rake, or the where Ric Flair would like kind of corner and block the vision of the referee and do like a backwards low blow with his leg. Like that's what I'm picturing. That's what he needs to do. That underhanded when the kitchen gets too hot, as you like to make food analogies. I mean, he has to pull out something to get out. I mean that's what when he can't straight up beat the guy and he knows he can, he has to do underhanded things. That is exactly what Apollo Crews needs. I love that. So, okay. Well, what else did you have? Because my list is exhausted. What did you have that you wrote down?
Okay, so just a couple things. I'll run through it real fast. First of all, I'm already missing Charlie Caruso backstage. I just got used to her as being the backstage interviewer, and I think that she had a better rapport with everybody. I'm seeing a lot of fresh faces. I didn't even memorize their names because I really don't care, because in my opinion, just like the ever-evolving commentary team, I just think that we'll see some this week and maybe never again. And whereas I think Charlie played her role really well, especially with Angel Garza, I enjoyed that. It was going somewhere, as dumb as it sounds, and now she's working with ESPN, so good for her. Make your money, honey. I gotta say, while I'm not a big fan of him, and people know this, I'm impressed with Sheamus's chain wrestling he did on Raw. I'm going to give him kudos where kudos are. It looks like he's trying to switch things up. Every once in a while, he'll do that. It's not just the same, I'll beat on your chest and give you a kick. Every once in a while, depending on who the opponent is, depending on who his dance partner is, he breaks out some new stuff, and I enjoyed it. It was a Sheamus match I enjoyed. Now, it's not going to be me calling you in the middle of the night going, Matt, you got to watch this tomorrow. But I'm saying, hey, good for you. You're not doing the same old moveset, and I saw chain wrestling. I liked it. Okay, so I want to give him kudos where it's deserved, and he deserves it. But the whole and I loved MVP's Midnight Express Stan Lane, Sweet Stan Lane reference. Did you catch that?
No.
When he's talking about Matt Riddle. He's like, I don't want to say it, but he's got educated feet. That's what they used to say about Sweet Stan in the Midnight Express. It was lethal hands and educated feet. That's what Jim Cornette would always say about him because he had great kicks. Yeah, it was a little throwback there. I liked it.
Cool.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
The program between Matt Riddle and Sheamus needs to end fast, though. If that's happening at WrestleMania, truly, let's get it over with. I mean, I'll tell you what's funny is, I know how tough Matt Riddle is, and you saw that little Twitter war we had when people were talking about who's inducting Rob Van Dam, and I also have that written down here real quick too. Is people talking about like Sheamus beating him up. I don't think in real life Sheamus would. Sheamus is a big, strong guy. We're talking about a real MMA fighter. Okay, he might be giving up 15, 20 pounds to the guy, but he knows really how to hurt people. I've watched his matches. Yeah. And I don't know who he made mad to have that stupid stoner bird thing. You know what I'm talking about when he kicked off his flip and that infographic, which they're throwing that. Did you also notice too, by the way, a lot of times when people are coming in, that lately they've been filming them coming in, it almost goes to slow-mo and they look around like they're mugging for the camera. And I think what they're doing is getting face shots to set up for the next video game.
I did not catch that.
Catch that. I bet you'll, if you go back a few Raws, especially over the last month, and you watch, it looks like everything's out of time by like a couple seconds, and it almost seems like they're getting as much of everything in the background as far as their Titantron or whatever they call it now, and a little infographic, and the way they look around with it being like almost a half-second delay, it looks like a video game, and something tells me that's imagery that they're using. And that's also why on SmackDown they also always have the tail of the tape factoid thing next to them, like two-time champion and this and that. I know they don't really do that on Raw. Instead they have the floating CGI stuff that I really cannot stand. So other thing was the Jackson Riker Strowman match was botch-tastic. That was some of the worst wrestling I've seen in a long time. I don't know what happened with that whole Jackson Riker jumping off the ropes and then just freezing. Did you notice that? He just froze in the ring for a second.
Yes, I did see that, yeah.
It looked like they both forgot what they were doing. And that would have been, in front of a live audience, that would have been eviscerated. So real quick, I'm going to touch on the Hall of Fame. This is a very interesting class because you have last year's class, I think, is going in. We're not sure, or they just might get mentioned. Like, whatever happened to Jushin Liger? Who's going to induct him? Is anybody going to talk about it? Why are the Bella Twins even considered Hall of Fame? But the biggest, as Gorilla Monsoon would say, miscarriage of justice, a man who should have never been hired to begin with, the great Khali, is going in. A man who should never have had a career, probably can't even spell professional wrestling, let alone is probably one of the absolute worst in-ring performers I've ever seen in my life, is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, your Hall of Fame means nothing anymore. Just like this WrestleMania potentially could be one of the worst ever. And potentially, WrestleMania could be dead, folks. And why I think that is true is the fact that now that the network is expired, everything is switched over to Peacock. I don't think those subscriptions went through the roof like they thought they would, even at a discounted rate. And this whole idea of putting together and slapping these Braun Strowman, Vince McMahon, and Paul Logan and Bad Bunny things are not selling subscriptions anytime soon. And with the advent of YouTube the way it is, you can catch a lot of this stuff the next day for free in some way, shape, or form between YouTube and Dailymotion in clips. So do you really need, even at a discount rate, this whole network, this Peacock? No, you don't. And so I think to prove, and this is where the proof's in the pudding, my friend, and you can prove me wrong and tell me I'm wrong, that the subscription buy rate over to Peacock did not go as well as planned. That is why they're doing the Stone Cold Chris Jericho interview.
That's funny. I had that on my notes, and I thought about asking you about that. It could be. I think people are like, "What the hell is this?" Chris Jericho, obviously a star in AEW, coming on Austin's podcast that is on the WWE Network. What the hell? Yeah, that I can't wait to see it. I'm definitely watching it, as many of us are. And it could be a symptom of, oh boy, what happened to our subscription base? WWE had 1.4 million people. We only have 400,000. What's going on? I don't know if it's that low. We don't know the real numbers. But you're right.
We're just throwing this out, folks. But yeah, I think that's asymptomatic of problems. If you're taking a person who has not only turned his back on the company, has also outright buried the company, and rather well fed these days.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to. A rather well fed Chris Jericho. I'm not knocking it. Our bodies change over time. I'm not the man I used to be. I've gained 5 pounds. But you're taking a guy who also helped develop the competition. Yeah. He helped in putting all this together, and you're having him on your network. That says, okay, if a person said, I'm not going to get it, I'll just try to scam bits off of YouTube. Now they're saying, all right, I'm going to pay the $5.99 for it. It's worth it just to see this interview. I got to see what he says. Now, what I think is that this is going to be severely edited. I don't think that whatever Jericho says, they are going to definitely splice a lot of that out. They're going to take a lot of it out. If it's a 3-hour interview, only 45 minutes are ever going to see airtime. That's number one. Number two, whatever makes it to YouTube is going to be heavily protected. If it's on YouTube for like 20 minutes, WWE or Peacock is going to find a way to remove it right away.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to get more people who want to see that, especially your hardcore fan. Your hardcore fans are the ones who are not jumping to Peacock. I haven't bought the subscription yet. Have you?
Yeah. I've already caved into it. Yeah.
I've been a little busy, but you already know what's going on with my personal life.
Agreed.
With my work, I just didn't have time. And honestly, I haven't had a reason to jump through that flaming hoop yet. There's been nothing to entice me with it yet. Mania is coming, and of course, I'll probably get it for Mania and for future pay-per-views and such, and for the sake of this show, and for our listeners, of course, I'm going to have it. But if I wasn't on the show with you, would I wait maybe 6-7 months to get it? Absolutely. Would this be something to make me want to watch it? Yes. This would be a reason for me to plunk down $5.99 and get it, because if it's not severely edited and he has a lot of things to say, they're going to let him say whatever he wants. This could be I think it's going to outdraw WrestleMania as far as getting people to switch over. That's what I'm trying to say, as long as I'm not tripping over my own tongue.
It's huge. I don't think people realize how big this is. I mean, but like you said, do the editors come in and cut out this and this and this and this, so you're really left with a super watered down, not so bad Jericho podcast or Stone Cold podcast, the Broken Skull Sessions. I mean, I want it unfiltered, unedited. Don't touch it. Let things go. Part of it, and I think they know that the fans are looking for that. They know that that WWE is probably going to edit it, and they're going to edit out the things that they don't want to be known to the public about. Maybe Jericho sharing some personal information about Vince or sharing personal stories. At the same time, Stone Cold's kind of in a weird spot. He's got the Legends contract with WWE. He knows that Jericho knows that he can't ask the questions that perhaps could bury WWE, but you also have to kind of be fair about asking the questions fans want to know about and want to hear some of the dirt. It's a very, very conflicting interview of goals, and you're also promoting it on the WWE network. I want to know how this turns out. Like I said, if you don't already have the subscription, I mean, you got to get it for just this alone. I
mean, there's only one way they could screw this up, and that's the mediator of this whole thing is going to have to be Baron Corbin. Sorry, I had to.
No.
If there's a way to straight shoot this into mediocrity, bring in Corbin. It's with appearances by Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. This to me, if it's, say it's only 45 minutes, which usually these Broken Skull sessions are topping out. They usually top out about an hour. You're going to have to talk AEW. They're going to have to talk about Kenny Omega. They're going to have to talk about Tony Khan. They're going to have to talk about competition, why he did it, because that's going to be the stuff people want to know. He's come out openly and said the reason he went to New Japan is because it was a recruiting purpose for Vince McMahon to try to get Kenny Omega. And instead, the whole thing backfired, and he ended up teaming up with people to start the competition. Now, mind you, the ideas they have are not doing the greatest thing in the world. They have the potential in the world to be the greatest thing and right all the wrongs in professional wrestling. Instead, they're swimming in the same pool, and that's just the dumbest thing. But with it being said, the information is what people are going to tune in for, to hear the competition talked about, to hear why he did it, and not on his show, but to be on a WWE produced show. And if Stone Cold can get away with saying what he wants, you have two people who can talk without a script at all ever. So to let them say what they want to say and just brush over bullet point questions, but get in depth on it, I think it's going to sell more conversions from the old network to Peacock than WrestleMania will.
I'd love to know the streaming numbers on this after like 30 days. I mean, it's going to be through the roof. My fear, though, is that WWE or even Stone Cold, understandably at the same time, would only maybe like 90% of the interview is just going through Chris Jericho's career, how he came up, some stories about WWE, and then the last 10% is like what we all tuned in to hear. I mean, yes, Chris Jericho has had a hell of a career in WWE. He'll probably go through his WCW run as the Lionheart.
Oh, yes.
He'll go through all that, how he came up, how he came to WWE, debuting as the Y2J character against The Rock, if anyone remembers that. He'll debut he'll go, of course, on that, and what ended up leading to his departure from WWE, as he usually does. He goes in usually chronological order of that individual's career. But we all want to get to, as interesting as that may be, we all want to get to what led you to go into AEW. How are things going there? What's going on? Why did you leave? Like, we want to know that stuff, right? But I have a feeling it's going to be about 75, 80% or more about WCW and WWE.
Yeah, and that's the bait and switch they're going to hit us with. It'll be like the last question: how are things over in AEW? It'll be
like the final question. Yeah.
Yeah, like tell us. So you were in New Japan for a while. Instead of talking about going there to face Omega, he'll talk about like his time as portraying the evil Liger, the super Liger character, which was only one match or something like that. So we'll waste 15, 20 minutes of airtime talking about how he couldn't see through a mask and it was a big bomb. So we went back to WCW. We'll get spoon-fed that and force-fed that. And, of course, they own the rights to a lot of Smoky Mountain stuff, so we'll talk about tagging with Lance Storm as the Thrill Seekers and that kind of thing, and the ECW stuff. Once it comes to AEW, it's going to be one, maybe two questions tops. And thank you. Tune in next week when we have
I could see that.
Somebody like the great Khali on. No.
Mm-hmm.
So that – but I if anybody could contact myself or you on Twitter – I would love to know if you can find these streaming numbers and what, since the announcement of Jericho being on there, how many more Peacock streaming service subscriptions have been added. Of course, also it's skewed because how many people are just getting Peacock for Peacock and not for WWE.
That's the thing you don't know. You don't know when you sign up. You don't say what made you purchase this. Was it the addition of the Stone Cold Broken Skull? Like, you don't know. So,
let's put DJ Kuzmo on this. He'll dig it up for us.
That's your call, DJ. I know you're listening. So, yeah.
But yeah, that's. I think that was things aren't going so well, and so now we have to pull out a big gun, and that's the big gun.
Yeah, it is. When I saw that, I'm like, what? As I'm sure all of us were, he's brought in some great guests. Undertaker a couple of times. Those have been really good. Sasha Banks, Bailey,
fantastic.
Kurt Angle. Kane. I mean, he's had some really, really good ones that, I'm loving the Broken Skull sessions that he's doing. He's a really good host. He asks the follow-up questions that you want to know about. He's organized. He drinks a lot on the show, like a lot. I mean, some of the drinking they've done, I'm like, I'd be out. I mean, like they're doing shot after shot after shot of Jack whiskey. I'm like, jeez. But I like his format. He's stone cold effing Steve effing Austin. Like he's going to be straight shooting with you. But anyway, so Michael, was there anything else on that list before we wrap things up?
Well, the only thing I want to say is a very happy Easter to everybody. And, of course, everybody who celebrates Passover, I hope you have a great Passover. I hope everybody had a great holiday today. And as far as wrestling goes, this whole next week is going to be very intense. It's going to be a lot more forced storylines. Kind of curious as to how big of a disaster SmackDown's going to be, with them trying to tell us it's must-see TV, and with us obviously knowing that whoever wins the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is basically going to have a cursed career. So I don't know what's going to happen this week. Of course, you and I communicate, so we'll see what's going on. And I just want to throw a shout out to a girl named Abby that I'm kind of smitten with. She knows who she is, and I hope she enjoys the show. And some friends at Jerry Lawler's Barbecue, because they got me a shirt for a good friend of mine. So aside from that, that's what I got in wrestling this week.
Awesome. Well, Michael, I'm sure you and I will be in contact. It is the biggest wrestling week of our lives. I mean, this is the 1 week out of our 52 that is our Super Bowl of wrestling, even if you and I and others aren't super excited about the card and some of the storylines. Setting the bar so low does make it easily exceedable. So perhaps we'll be pleasantly surprised by WWE. I'm not going to crap on it before things happen. I will still go into this pay-per-view with an open mind and hopefully be surprised. But you and I will be in touch in short order, I'm sure, as we get closer and closer, as WrestleMania is, 6 days away?
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, all right. Well, Michael, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure. We will be in touch very soon.
Thank you, and everybody out there, you have a great Easter once again, and we look forward to speaking to you again.
Awesome. Have a good night.
You too. Goodbye.